Good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. Welcome into On the Hunt. My goodness, we have a fantastic show tonight. I just happened to get my good friend, Mr. Robby Raines, to join me tonight. And Mr. Robby Raines is a published author now, you guys. And not only that, he's becoming a best-selling author already. And so I am so proud of him. You guys, I've read part of his new book. I haven't had time to read the whole thing yet, but I was on the edge of my seat, and it is fantastic. So we're going to get into his brand new book tonight. It's called The Shadow Walkers. And we're not just going to get into that book. I've made some connections between some of his personal experiences, maybe that he's even had with me out in the field when we were surrounded by Bigfoot or Dogman. We're not sure what it was. I think it was both at some point. So you guys go get your popcorn. Welcome in. This is a Saturday night show. We're going to have a good bit of fun tonight. Y'all know it's always a good time when Robby's here. And I know I want to send all my love out to D.A. Roberts. I know Robby's usually on D.A. Ex Machina every Saturday night. And they have their show right before mine. And so thank you for letting me borrow Robby tonight. D.A. I'm just saying. Okay. And yeah, we're going to have a great time. I also want to thank everybody who was there with me today. We had a memorial for my grandmother today. My grandmother passed away about a month ago, and we had her memorial today. And I saw people I have not seen in 20 years, probably. It seemed like, and I had some wonderful cousins that I've never really gotten to hang out with very much before and stuff. So gosh, they may be watching tonight. Okay, so I'm going to be manning the chat to see if you guys are in here tonight. And so thank you guys for being here if you're in here. And it was great seeing everybody today. And so thank y'all so much from the bottom of my heart. It was a wonderful day. Today would have been my grandmother's 94th birthday, y'all. Okay. I can only hope that I live to be that long and have an adventurous life like her. I'm getting there. But I got a few more years left in me. Okay. So, but also, I do want to take care of one more thing before we get the show started tonight. You guys will know that on Thursday night, I did have Aaron in the chat who informed me that my good friend, Jeff Townson, had passed away. And y'all know Jeff. I'm sure y'all will remember him from the Dogman and the Crosshairs. That he came on the show and he let me interview him that night, along with Cryptidville, Mark Maychek, who's also probably in the chat tonight. But my very good friend, my close friend, my bodyguard, my OG henchman, that's what I call him. This is Jeff Townson, y'all. And my heart has just been broken for the past couple of days. He passed away. So please send your prayers out to his family and all of his friends. It's going to take, we'll never get over losing Jeff. He's a treasure and a very, very wonderful person, especially everybody in the cryptid community knows Jeff. And so please lift his family and all his friends up in prayer, you guys. And also, if you guys are wanting to, contribute something in Jeff's honor, I highly recommend Standing Goats Rescue with Donnie Miller. If you guys know Donnie, he's just a wonderful human. And Jeff loved Donnie so much and his entire family. And they have it is called the Standing Goats, Rescue down in Florida. And they live out on the Panhandle. And so if you guys want to, give a donation or contribute in any way in Jeff's honor, go to Standing Goats Rescue, y'all. You can find him on Facebook. And I don't have any kind of PayPal information or anything, but that's just me. I mean, they're not asking for donations, y'all. I'm the one that's saying, please donate to them. if you can. And I know Jeff would go down there. They have an area out there on their property called Jeff's Corner. And Jeff I think he was with Donnie when he had that incident where he saw the Dogman, the dog woman actually out there. I think that was in Florida. So it's I just wanted to honor Jeff tonight, and I know people who love him. I know his family's making some funeral arrangements right now and stuff, and so I will keep those who know Jeff posted, okay, on what's going on there. But thank you guys so much. The world's a better place because of Jeff Townson, and he was often in our chats, and so most of you guys, a lot of y'all know Jeff, okay, and. So I dedicate this show and every show from here on out to Jeff Townson, my OG henchman. Okay, that man had my back, y'all. He was one of the only people that ever truly always had my back and would whoop somebody's butt for me. Okay, if I needed it. I'm sure there's lots of people who whoop some butt for me. Okay, because I'd whoop butt for them too. If y'all, I am so Southern right now. Okay, but I'm always Southern. Can't take it out on me. Okay, well, let's get to our show tonight, y'all, because we have so much to talk about, and I'm super excited to have Robby here. Also, if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and my archives, find out what all I got going on with all the events that I'm going to be at, go over to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of my shows there, and all the events I'm going to be speaking at are there. Not all of them are posted yet, but a lot of them are. And I'm including, I'm a keynote speaker, y'all, over at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference this year. It's going to be in Dillard, or not, is it Dillard? Nope, it's Demarest, Georgia. And so y'all come see me at that. It's going to be Saturday, March the 22nd. It's coming up very soon, just in a couple of weeks. And y'all might recognize some of the people on that flyer right there. Those are not all the people on there that are going to be speaking, but it's a good bit of them. So y'all come see us. It's at Piedmont University, and I would love to have y'all there with me. Okay. Also, I will be at the Full Disclosure Now conference in July down in Florida, and the Molina Bigfoot Festival in April. Okay. So I hope to see all y'all there. Okay. Let's get to our show. And thank you to all my moderators for being here tonight. You guys are the best. Okay. All right. So tonight we are going on a hunt with my good friend, Robby Raines, to discuss shadow walkers. Are y'all familiar with shadow walkers? We've talked about shadow chasers before. Now we got shadow walkers. And we're going to get into some local cryptid and creature reports out of South Carolina and out of Georgia. And Robby and I have spent some time in the field together, boots on the ground. And we're going to talk about that tonight as well. Robby Raines is a police officer who had his first Bigfoot experience as a child. He's an active researcher, investigator, and a tracker. He co-hosts the podcast DA Ex Machina, and he recently published his very first book in a series. It's titled Shadow Chasers. I think it's called Silver Star. Okay. Please help me welcome to the show our good friend, Robby Raines. Hey, Robby.
Hey, Jess. How you?
I'm better now that you're here. It's good to see you.
Yeah. It's been a long time. I think last time we talked about the Beast of Seven Shoots. Wasn't that the last time I was on with you?
No, it was the last time you were on. We talked about the Converse Werewolf.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Before that we did the Beast of Seven Shoots.
We did. We're always talking about Dogman, werewolves, Bigfoots, all that stuff. It's always so great having really good conversations with you, because you and I were surrounded a couple of different times that we've been out in the field, possibly by some dogmen at that last time.
I think that's 100%. I believe that's what was there that time.
Yeah.
It was because it felt completely different that time than it did the first time.
It did. Now, you guys, and for people who are new to the channel, or if you hadn't heard Robby and I talk about our experiences together out in the field, Robby came to hang out with me when I was at the Georgia Bigfoot Conference a couple of years ago. And we had, I guess we got out in the field that night, right before the conference. And we did it 2 years in a row, actually. You've come up to hang out with me. I'm speaking at the next Bigfoot Conference in a couple of weeks. So if you're free, you might want to come out and hang out. But we were up there. We went out to the woods late at night. And the first year we got surrounded by, I think it was Bigfoot. That was definitely Bigfoot in my book. We were talking, things were great. The bugs were chirping really loud, and we started screaming over each other basically. And all of a sudden the bugs quit chirping, and Robby and I were still screaming over each other.
Yep.
And
and to answer Jennifer Lee's question, that time was before there was such a thing as a Robby Wrangler. That kind of Noah had not become the Robby Wrangler at that point. So no, there was no such. But well, we talked about that because we were both the same way. Because you were like, yeah, I probably need a Jessica Wrangler too.
Oh my gosh! Well, we were surrounded by something that night, and you know, whenever those bugs stop chirping and the woods go completely mute, there is a predator in the vicinity. There's something there, and you and I looked just. My heart almost stopped at that point. It was wild, and we looked at each other. We're like, "Ooh, there's something here."
I felt like there was something behind you, and you got at the same time got the feeling that there was something behind me. Then you got the feeling that something was down there around your car. So hey, Doyle. So yeah, we decided to get down to your car so we didn't get cut off.
Oh yeah. Oh no. We got out of there. I mean, we didn't leave immediately, but we got down to the truck just to put some space between us and the threat.
And
whatever the threat was.
I never felt like that night anyway. I never felt like it was anything. I felt it was kind of I think it was more curiosity than anything else. I didn't feel like, I mean, you know, yeah, I cleared leather, but I didn't feel like we were in any kind of danger that night. The other night, the second time around,
this next year, almost 1 year to the day, we did it again. Yeah.
And you know, and we've talked about it a bunch of times since. You know, the difference was Ben was with us that night, but
That's
I still feel like it was. I feel like we were being hunted.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Here's the thing, y'all. Okay, so we talk about this occasionally. It's all, the experience is different depending upon, like, first of all, whatever's out there, of course, but it's who's with us. Okay, and it was almost like we had that urge to just, we knew there was something wrong. We needed to get out of there, and we trucked it down to the truck. Basically, is what we did. And I do feel like that was because it was because my son was there. We had a kid with us. You know, he was not a little kid, but he's still, you know, he's still a kid.
I think if you'd have seen what I saw coming, because you were concentrating on getting your keys out and getting down to the truck.
Right.
If you'd have saw what I saw when I turned back around, I think you would have had a completely different feeling about that night.
We might have started shooting at something. I don't know. Good thing. I'm just kidding. I don't ever shoot, y'all. I was kidding. We never, ever shoot. Ever shoot unless your life is in immediate danger. Okay, don't do that. But I did have my kids, so I'm a mama bear. Okay. But then there comes the whole thing of like, well, I was in their territory, and but we weren't expecting that. Okay, we were not expecting that. Nothing ominous like that had happened. I mean, there's some weird stuff that's happened up there, right? But not like that. And so we were definitely surrounded by something, and we definitely were seeing shadowy figures walking around us and going from tree to tree and doing all that kind of stuff and ducking out behind bushes. And so it's reminding me of some of the stuff I was reading in your book, this new book that you just put out. I feel like maybe you've taken some of your personal experience and applied it into this amazing book that you just wrote.
Yeah.
Am I wrong?
No, you're really on track. You know, I kind of learned from, in my opinion, one of the best. You know, you and I've talked about this. I've had this story, or a version of this story, bounced around in my head for probably 25, 30 years. And I've always just been, I can't write a book. I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And DA's been on my tail ever since he and I've been friends. You know, you need to write this. You need to write it. You need to do it. He said, dude, it's not that hard. And I'm like, no, I can't do it. Finally, somebody talked me into it. and that person knows who that person is. And I was laying there one night having trouble going to sleep. And Jessica, I kid you not, it was like somebody stuck a funnel in my ear and poured the first 3 chapters of that story into my head. I just came up with the first 3 chapters like that. So I went to work the next day, and I usually get there about an hour before the kids start getting there. I sat down in my office and just first 3 chapters just like that. And it was just like, and it's kind of been flowing like that from, I'm already 15,500 words into the second book.
Oh my God. You're already on book number 2. Mm-hmm. Well, that just means that you're meant to do this. Okay. Yeah. I feel like it because it's really good. Like I'm super impressed.
But to answer your question, yeah. Okay. DA told me, he said, look, he said, you've been writing reports for 30 years as a cop. He said,
police reports.
Yeah. He said, he said, write it the same way. He said, obviously don't write it as a police report, but he said, where, when, how. He said, how to put this stuff together. Just do it. So, and he also taught me, write about what you know. He said, don't make stuff up as far as this. So obviously the main character is not me per se, but his backstory and a lot of the stuff was filled in. A lot of his life was filled in with the stuff from my life. So it was a lot easier for me to fill in those gaps with my life, and it just makes that character a whole lot easier to flesh out. And it makes him a whole lot more relatable because a lot of that stuff that I wrote about is really what stuff that happened to me. The first part of the book where I talk about my dad taking me to Jumping Off Rock, that's a real place in the horse pasture. All the places in the book are real. That place and that story about the Jeep and standing out there watching the thunderstorm, that 100% is real. That my dad and I witnessed that. So, it's just, but DA was right. It makes it a whole lot easier when you're writing that way when you just base it on stuff like that, and you don't have to sit there and say, now what am I going to do here? It makes it a whole lot easier.
I can imagine. Oh my gosh. Okay. So I just want to say one thing, because I brought that event up where you and I were out there in the field, and we had the crickets that were chirping really loud, and then they went quiet because it reminded me, and this is so wild because what is it, 2025? So it would have been 2023 when that happened. And your book starts off in May. That's the month that we were out there. It was 2023, and an event just like that happened. Similar, not just like what we had, but it was I think it was supposed to be dated like that same month, and that's when we had that thing with the crickets that chirp. And I was like, oh my God, I wonder if he's basing that off kind of what happened to us out there a little bit. So I don't know. Maybe I was imagining things.
No, there was no, like I said, basing it on real.
Yeah.
Think about, when he got out of the vehicle and he was walking up there and he didn't hear any sounds, any critters. If you think back, if you remember when that happened, I said, oh crap, the critters just stopped.
The critters. That's right. That's right. It was all the critters. Well, I like to say, I always talk about critter control. Okay. But that's something different a little bit, but we do have a lot of critters out there where we go, and big and small. And there was a big critter that made all the little critters go quiet on us out there. So I was actually super, maybe I just get a little more excited reading this kind of stuff because I experienced some of that with you. Okay. Out there. And I was like, oh, this is in the book. So yeah. And then right before we went live, I was like, all right, y'all, you need like a cryptid huntress in your book at some point. Okay. I was kind of kidding though. But anyways, I don't know. You never know.
There's a lot of real world elements that are going to be in these books. Yeah. DA and I've talked about it, because I'm under his back, and this is kind of a funny argument that him and I always. He's like, dude, it's your book. I said, I know that, but I'm under your banner, so I want to make sure that I put out something that you're proud of, because it's your name that I'm representing there. So we always argue about that. Hey, Rodney. Rodney is in there. That's my old chief that was, and he's in the book too.
Oh, hey, Rodney.
he was
That's
put.
not
The reason he was
in
put in
here.
the book is you remember the howl that was recorded here that I told you. Rodney's the one
Yes.
he's the one that sent that to me, so that's why I wrote that in the book the way that did, because he was the one that actually sent that howl to me at first. So that's why it was wrote in the book that way, with him bringing the howl to our attention. But I weaved in all this real world stuff, and just like the lady that was killed in the horse pasture, she fell off a ravine, but all the rest of the stuff is true. Well, I mean, obviously we don't know that an 8-foot werewolf grabbed her, hold over, and threw her off a ravine, but the rest of the story is pretty much the way it happened. She was missing. Cadaver dogs wouldn't go in there and search and rescue dogs wouldn't go search. They found one of the dogs, never found the other dog. So all that stuff was real. And I
Ooh.
just kind of added a few things here and there to it. So, but it's an actual thing that happened.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well it gets a little bloody. I'm just gonna say in your book, and that's always fun. I know it sounds kind of morbid, but okay, it's actually kind of it makes for a good book. So that's interesting to know that there's some real life situations, and you are a police officer. You take a lot of calls, and I know for a fact that you guys have some pretty well-known legends and lore around where you live out in South Carolina. Robbie's from South Carolina, y'all. Okay, right beside Georgia, where I'm from. And we went over. I did a whole show on the Anderson werewolf. How far are you from Anderson, North Carolina, or South Carolina?
About, well, depending on what part of it. I mean, I can be to Anderson in 15 minutes, or because the upper part of Anderson is like literally just on the other side of Easley. Actually, when I worked at Easley Police Department, there were parts of the city that were actually in Anderson County. So, but that's probably a good way. Anderson's a big county. That's probably a good ways from there. But like I said, depending on what part of Anderson, I can be 10, 15 minutes to Anderson County.
Oh, well, this was back in 1945, though. And here's the thing, like, we don't know the lifespan of dogmen and werewolves and Bigfoot and all this. Werewolves are actually supposed to be humans that change, of course. But, I think back in the 1945, this is when this was seen by hundreds of people that lived in Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
1945, I think just about everything was called a werewolf. I don't think that anybody called a dogman a dogman.
Yeah, the
It
term
was all the
dogman
same
didn't.
thing.
It was not till like 86, I think, that phrase was somewhere in the mid to late 80s. There was a DJ in Michigan who started calling it the Michigan Dogman, because a lot of it was the Beast of Bray Road and those sightings up there. So they just started calling it the Michigan Dogman, and like Bigfoot, the term dogman stuck. Because Bigfoot wasn't a term until the 50s, when the reporter and it was the lumber company that was not far from Bluff Creek, where all the big heavy 55-gallon drums of fuel had been thrown down the hill, and big machinery had been messed with. So somebody takes a picture of the tracks, and the reporter puts the little tagline on the story: Bigfoot terrorizes lumber camp. Bigfoot stuck. That's how Bigfoot came about, and that's how Dogman came about. So before that, it was Wild Man or Hairy Man, or me and DA joke all the time. They must have pulled every wild man in Borneo must have been pulled over here and survived a train wreck at some point in the early 1800s, because that's what the wild man of Borneo, train wrecked, going to the circus, and the wild man of Borneo escaped. So I don't know if they kept catching him and putting him back on a train, and train kept derailing and he kept getting loose, or if they had hundreds of them they took from Borneo. But that's those stories: the Tennessee Wild Man, Hairy Man, Tall Man, all the every First Nation tribe's got a different name for Bigfoot. Shiatanka, Gugway, Janoskwa. It goes on and on. But it's like Kleenex. We call all tissues Kleenex. We
Right.
call all sodas
Coke is Coke, right?
Yeah, all sodas are
Sprite's
Coke.
Coke.
We
Everything's Coke.
compartmentalize everything, and that but it's a lot broader than what we give it credit for.
That's right. We got all these categories and subcategories of Dogman and Bigfoot and werewolf, and it's always up for debate, which is actually kind of good for us because we have these podcasts and we like to talk about it, so we can break it all down. We got plenty of shows to do it on, and so that's what makes it fun and keeps it interesting for us. So yeah, those werewolves out of Werewolf Springs, they were supposed to have come off of a train derailment accident from a traveling circus or a fair that was in town.
And that was another Wild Man of Borneo escapes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Those werewolves, me and some of the guys have actually talked on one of my teams. We've talked about maybe trying to go out there.
Yeah, we've actually we've talked about doing a couple of meet and greets out there, and it's just a matter of trying to get everything going. Which I actually had talked to DA about seeing if you wanted to kind of go in together and do a meet and greet. Because it's not, that's kind of like a midway point for, I mean, obviously you and I are close anyway, but that's kind of a midway point for, not really for Doc because he's in Colorado, so he's further on past everybody, but still, I mean, for DA and for, that's kind of sort of a midway point. So we thought about doing that and getting the Woodwalkers involved, Greg and Spencer and Misty and all them.
I'm in 100% on that. That'd be fun. And I got most of my cryptid warfare team. They're all up in Tennessee, and and this is at, I think it's Montgomery Bell State Park. And so it's a nice little drive for me, but it's not that bad. It's worth it. Not that
it's bad, but the hardest part about that, or the worst part about that, is how far in you have to actually hike to get to where where the cabin's supposed to. I don't think it's still there, where the hunter spent the night in the cabin with the thing jumping up and trying to get him in the roof. I don't know if the cabin's still there, but to get to that, it's like I want to say like a 6 or 7 mile, maybe even a 10-mile hike.
10 mile hike.
I knew it was on in there.
That's a lot.
So yeah, it's a ways to get in there. So it's not just like, it's not like going to the LBL and camping and something's happened within 50 feet of anywhere you camp, because there's just so much going on. It's a hike to get from where you go in to where the good stuff, so to speak, happens.
Robby, okay, so this past summer, back in July, me and my guys went out to Alabama to that Dogman investigation, and we hiked in 5 miles in the blistering sun, and it was hot. It was really hot. 5 miles was a lot, and so once we got in there, there's no running out of there at night, because we were not on any trail at all, and we were depending upon basically one of the guys that had been out there before to kind of get us in and out, because it's so dense and stuff. It was wild. I don't know if Drewski's in the chat tonight, but shout out to Drewski. It's Drewski's birthday this week, by the way. Cryptid Warfare Podcast. Y'all go subscribe. Happy birthday, Drewski, from the Cryptid Huntress. Okay, and Robby. But yeah, we have actually. It's rough. Okay, it's really rough. Doing that hike, especially with all your gear, and then you get out there and you got your hammock set up, or your little small one-man tents, your bivouacs, and it's dangerous, and but I mean, for me it's worth it. It'd be fun, but 10 miles is double what we already did. That's a lot.
Yeah.
So the weather would have to be just right, Robby, if I were to do that one.
Yeah, I'm going to I'm going to Missouri at the end of April for Mary Ann's expedition, and there's going to be some hiking in that. We're camping out for the whole week. I'm going up there to teach a tracking class. So yeah, there ain't no hotel or amenities. You're bring a tent, bring a sleeping bag, or bring a hammock, and camp out for a couple of days. So.
Oh yeah, that sounds fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. Shoot, yeah. Well, Larry Sharp, thank you so much for that super sticker. I appreciate you. He says, happy Saturday and prayers, y'all. Thank you so much. And then I saw after you did that, you gifted 10 memberships to the Cryptid Huntress it's called the Hunt Club. Actually, the Hunt Club that's where I put exclusive content up. Thank you, Larry. Oh my God, that's so great. We have a lot of new Hunt Club members, y'all. So thank y'all so much for being a part of that. And Larry, that's amazing of you. Very much appreciated. And Zoe Stark, thank you so much for becoming a member as well. So, man, the support is just off the chain over here. And I appreciate each and every one of y'all for that, for sure. But wow, yeah. Okay, so let's go back and talk a little bit. Okay, so you knew a lot about this Anderson werewolf. Have y'all done a show on this before? Because I'm super impressed. You had some knowledge on it.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
new, huh? Well, it's right there in your backyard.
Yeah, I mean, I think Johnny and I may have talked about it on What's Really Out There when we were still doing that podcast. I don't think we've ever talked about it on DAX Machina. But you know, I mean, I've obviously, like you said, it's in my backyard basically. So I wouldn't consider myself like an expert on it. It's just one of those things that you know, when you start looking for stuff around the area to either talk about on a show or possibly write about, or you know, it's one of those things that comes up. So I wouldn't say I know everything about it, but it was one of those things. It's kind of like, you know, every city, or there's a city in every town that's got a crybaby bridge. It's kind of like one of those every town sometime around the, you know, end of the Civil War to maybe you know, 50, 60 years after that had a train derailment and had something like this escape from it. I mean, it's just, some of them go into the category of, well, we just had it because this other one did. And some of them really happened. So you just got to kind of weed through all that stuff and figure out what really happened, what didn't.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We don't have a whole lot of well, we've had some train derailments the past couple of years here.
Mm-hmm.
A bunch last year for some strange reason. But you don't hear about, you know, we don't have traveling circuses as much that take trains now. Okay. We don't have all that. And back in the day, you know, what they called a sideshow, or some people called them freak shows. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Were really popular. And before we had, you know, a lot of television sets and, you know, internet and cable television, that was the main attraction. That was the entertainment, was when the county fair would come. You know, they'd have the county fair, they'd have a state fair, they'd have the circus that rolled into town. That was their main source of entertainment, right?
Well, I mean, they still did that stuff like that when I was, I mean, I didn't come in on trains, obviously, it was semi trucks, but I can remember Upper State South Carolina Fair that used to come to the Greenville Pickens Speedway. And that was one of the things that me and my real dad did every time it came in on September. And it had stuff like that. It had, you know, like the Snake Woman, all the freak show. That's what it was called. So, you know, that's been a tradition in this country for many years. I mean, that goes back to, like I said, you know, around the Civil War era, because they didn't have the Googles, as we like to say on DAX Machina. Can't just get on the type up on the Googles and get some, you know, some entertainment. And that was their entertainment, stuff like that.
Yeah, it was. You know, it's so wild that, you know, you gotta think. Oh, what's up? Yeah, you gotta think like that's, I mean, the weirder the better too, right? The weirder the better. I'm sure I don't know how many circuses they had, but I would think that I mean, you know, if you got a wolf man, oh my God, you know, I'm gonna go see that. Back in the day, I would have gone to see that for sure.
Yeah, and like you said, the weirder the better. That's and Sonia knows she lives here in South Carolina too. That was a tradition, is going to places like that and seeing every September the Upper State Fair came to the Greenville Pickens Speedway, and you know, there was some weird stuff that they had, and a lot of it was optical illusions and, you know, things like that. But that was the kind of, oh my God, did you see that kind of thing? I mean, and that they work on the shock factor.
Oh my God. Well, that's the same today though, right? Because I was talking with Vic Cundiff a while back. He's been on my show several times, and Vic was telling me, I've been on his show too. Okay. But he was talking about how we're talking about because there's so many podcasts out there, right? There's so many different shows that are on, and it's like, you see some shows are like, it's always like Dogman attack, you know, werewolf slashes people or something. It's just something that, so there's just a lot of you know, violence and stuff. And if you look at all the reports of Dogmen, Okay, a lot of the reports we get, eyewitness reports, they're not generally, if you go like, if you're doing like a percentage, right? The majority percentage of the encounters with Dogman are not violent at all. They're just like, oh, it's just, well, they just saw it. And maybe the Dogman looked at them, and it's scary. Like the one that you and I had, we were surrounded. We just got out of there. Okay. We got out of there. Nothing hurt us. We were fine. We got out of there. We respected their territory. They respected us. Okay. But if you watch some YouTube channels and stuff and you saw some shows, you'd be like, man, Dogmen are just out there to rip everybody to shreds all the time. And
well, I think a lot of that comes from, if you listen to a lot of people who talk about their encounters. What's up, Brad? It's my buddy Brad that graduated with me.
Oh, nice.
We've been friends since 4th grade, I think, Brad. Right?
That's the way back.
We're getting old, but I think 4th grade. But anyway, I think a lot of that comes from, if you listen to a lot of that like Bigfoot encounters, you'll hear people say, "Oh, it was the typical Harry and the Hendersons type, or Patterson Gimlin type, where it was it was just out there, it was doing that." You very, very rarely do you hear people give the, "Oh my God, I was lucky to get out of there." There are those, but very, very rare. But it's kind of the opposite when you start listening to a lot of people who talk about Dogman encounters. It's kind of on the more rare side to have one like DA's, where he's just driving by and the thing's just kind of leaned up against a tree, just looking around, and then sees them and turns around and takes off. A lot of them describe, demonic and hellhound, red eyes that scared the living daylights out of it. But I don't think that's an actual true Dogman. I think there's a lot more I believe there's demons out there that are after people, after the human race. And I kind of sort of, if you probably kind of sort of got that from the first part of the book, that I think there's a difference between a Dogman and what people used to call a werewolf or a shapeshifter or anything like that. And William will probably agree with me on this. I think if something knows what your fear is, if you're scared to death of a werewolf, that's probably what you're going to see. That's probably it. So I think that a lot of these people that have those kind of encounters, I think it's more of some kind of evil spirit. And that's the form it takes. That's just, I'm not saying I'm right, not saying I'm wrong. I'm just saying that to me makes a lot more sense. Because if you start looking at what people say, there's not a whole lot of, "Oh, I just want to go up and pet it." It's like, "Oh my God, I thought it was going to rip my face off." Even though nothing happened. Yeah. But that's right. A lot of the feeling that they say they have was, they were scared to death because of. So I don't know. Like I said, that's my opinion. That's how it seems to me like it could be.
I agree. Okay. I agree. And here's the thing. Okay, so getting into the Bigfooting stuff, like I never really thought about all this, anything being demonic out there. Okay, ever. And I've been in the woods for 10 years before I ever went public. Okay, talking about it. And it wasn't until I started doing podcasting and interviewing people from all over the world about their experiences with cryptids. And I started getting a lot of people coming on my shows, especially when it came to the Dogman phenomenon. People who had firsthand encounters with Dogmen, according to their testimony, what they were telling me, they were saying, there was something, it felt demonic. Things felt demonic. And, people that have had, I've had encounters with ETs before and stuff. I never got the feeling that they were like demonic. I just didn't. But the more, it's becoming more common to have people think that they're demonic.
Well, see, last year, I guess, whenever it was, I didn't feel like that was a demonic encounter that we had. I feel like that was an animal encounter. I feel like those were actual, what most people would call an actual dog, but just an actual animal. I don't think it's anything else, because I didn't get that. I didn't get that feeling of, "Oh my God," I got that feeling we need to get out of here, because if we don't, we're invading territory, and it's going to, we're challenging their territory. And I felt like that's why we needed to get out. and a small part of it I felt like maybe was the hunting aspect, like maybe they were hunting us to a certain extent.
Ooh.
But it may have just been like you said, it may have just been a territorial challenge, and they were just pushing us out that way. And that's just because it's 6 1, half dozen other. It's still, we need to get out of here. Everybody wants my hat.
Everybody wants your hat.
Yeah.
You need to sell some hats on your website, maybe.
Not this one. I do make hats though. I don't have one close that I can grab. But anyway, a lot of people have seen those. But I think that there are things out there that, and you know, who's to say some of these, you know, the Bigfoot encounters where it's like, whether it's a Gugway or a Genoskwa or something like that, who's to say that that's not something that's a little bit more? I mean, because a lot of people, my opinions as far as Bigfoot being able to go into a portal. I 100% believe that they know how to backtrack. The actual animals, what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about anything else. But if there is something out there that is a demonic spirit that is using those kind of disguises, so to speak, then it's very well possible that people who have seen these things go into portals, that's what they're seeing, and because they would be able to do that. So I mean, maybe everybody's right. Is what I'm saying. Maybe it depends on what you saw. If you see an animal, because I've never seen anything in the field that gives me any other notion other than animal. You and I've had this talk, and that's all I've ever seen. I've never seen any behavior that leads me to believe anything other than animal. And I've had pretty good, encounters, especially since I really started getting out there. Every time we went out, we've had some type of encounter. Every time DA and I went out, we've had some. I mean, this past one we had in Missouri, Doc actually saw some on thermal. And if I had $1 for every time I heard Doc say "thermal don't lie" that weekend, I'd probably have about $40.
Thermal don't lie. You need to get some T-shirts that say that.
Thermal don't lie. Yeah. We got back to the hotel room, and I was sitting on the couch in Doc's room, and he was pacing back and forth. He was just like, and he'd look at me every 5 seconds and say, "Thermal don't lie. Thermal don't lie." I'm like, "I got you, brother. Thermal don't lie." Because that he believed, and he's had paranormal encounters, but that was his first cryptid encounter, and he was on that high, that oh my God, because DA and I were walking up the road. And he saw one off to our right, and it looked to him like it was trying to flank us. Well, and he lost sight of that one. So he looks back and sees me and DA, and he looks up in front of me and DA about 12, 13, maybe even 20 yards ahead of us. And he sees two more up. He sees he can see the reflective residuals coming off the tree, and he sees two big figures behind the tree, because he drew a picture when we got back to the hotel room. And it was eerie how close or how good this picture he drew was, because he drew the exact area we were at. And you can see it. One was probably about 8 foot tall, and one was probably about 7 foot tall, and they were like behind the trees. And then when they looked at him, when he switched the infrared on, I think our theory about them being able to see the infrared spectrum is true, because he said as soon as he flipped that infrared on, they went and started turned and started trying to hide themselves behind the tree.
They can see that light. If they've got an IR light, they got any kind of anything coming off of them, they sense it, they feel it, they can see it.
Because he said when he had the
100%.
thermal on, they didn't move. As soon as he flipped that IR on, it's like they were like trying to turn themselves behind the tree.
That's a spotlight for them, Robbie. I mean, they know they're being watched at that point.
That was the point that he started calling me and Dick, because we were like 40 or 50 yards away from him and Noah. Yes, Noah was falling down his Robby wrangling job that night. But
Robby wrangling.
Yeah. So Doc started calling us back because he was like, DA and I were fixing to be cut off because he had lost sight of the other one, and we were getting in between those two and this one here. And this was after I did the wolf howl. They started getting kind of aggressive because DA did the tongue click, nothing. Doc did a couple of owl calls, nothing. I did a whoop, nothing. I did a wolf call. We immediately got, I mean, like as soon as the wolf howl finished, we get an exact mimic to Doc's owl call that he did like 3 minutes before that.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and I was like, owls don't usually answer wolves, but it sounded like 1,000-pound owl.
Yeah.
Real deep, real throaty.
Yeah.
But it was exact. It was an exact mimic to Doc's. So
wow, that's what Bigfoots do. Like they will mimic animals that they think that they're tricking us, but it doesn't sound like the actual animal. It's just it's a little bit off sometimes.
Yeah, it was an exact mimic of what Doc did, but like I said, it sounded like 1,000-pound owl. You just had a real big, like a real deep bass, and it didn't have that. An owl's like smooth and just kind of flows out. You could just tell it was just the pitch was different and it was real throaty. Mm-hmm. But it was as far as the actual sound and what Doc sounded like when he did it, the reply once I got done with my wolf howl was identical to what Doc did. And that's the same thing that happened to me and Johnny and Taylor and Tyler and Greg Ogles when we were in LBL. Johnny did 3 owl calls and he gets 2 perfect mimics, and the third one was just like ooh, 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 and we were all like
that's their baritone or bass.
Yeah,
that's right.
That was okay. We're tired of this.
That's
so.
I mean, it could have been like their Barry White owl out there. He just had a deep voice, right? Oh my gosh. We have a question from Andrew. So do they emit a heat signal with the thermal? Cryptids almost always. I'm not saying every always, but they usually do. Yes, you can see them on thermal.
Mm-hmm.
You can.
Yeah, Doc saw them. He saw at least 4 that night on thermal.
Oh wow! And you said they were really tall too, like 8 feet tall.
One of them was at least 8 foot tall, and he was looking uphill at them, so they could have been taller than that because he was back. Like it was up here, so they were up here, and Doc would have been down here, so they could have been a lot taller than that. He's just estimating it, but there was one that was shorter and one that was taller, and he was saying the shorter one was probably at least 7.5, and the other one was at least 8.5, 8 to 8.5 feet. So,
oh yeah, Kent Baxter, thank you for that super sticker. He says werewolves have always been my favorite ever since the Lon Chaney Jr. days. Is that the guy from The Howling? Okay.
No, Lon Chaney was the one from the original Wolfman back in the 40s or 50s. The one Claude Rains played his dad. This one where he had the silver wolf head cane in Maliva. Yeah. That's where they put the old even a man who is pure at heart and says his prayers by night may become a wolf as the wolfbanes blooms and the autumn moon is full and bright. You've heard that old Benicio del Toro and Anthony Hopkins. That movie was the remake of the original Wolfman that he's talking about, Lon Chaney Jr.
Oh yeah,
Lon Chaney Jr. played Lawrence Talbot. Excuse me. He called himself Larry. His dad called him Lawrence, but yeah, I'm a werewolf.
You guys, you and Barry, a bunch of the guys come on the show. Y'all know your movies real good. I am horrible about movies and actors. I don't know. Yeah. I'm terrible with all of it.
You have no idea when me, Doc, Noah, and DA get together. It's horrible for anybody who doesn't know stuff because movie quotes start and they never stop.
Oh my gosh. Well, I can quote Talladega Nights. Y'all know I can do that. Okay, everybody, that I can quote movies like that. Okay, but Kent says to find out they're real was awesome. Okay, yeah. It can be awesome and terrifying at the same time. For sure. And I don't know if there's like an uptick in rituals and dark magic and dark practices or something. I mean, I started thinking the other day, I was having a conversation with somebody. I forgot who it was, but on one of my shows, we're talking about, the beast of LBL. And you've been to the LBL.
Mm-hmm.
I've been looking at it a little different lately because I used to think it was Dogman because you hear about Dogman. It's kind of the collective consciousness. It's like the Dogmen are up there. There's a Dogman the Dogman attacked that family back in the 1980s. It's always been Dogman, Dogman. I'm thinking it might have been werewolves actually. I just
Well,
think it's werewolves. What do you think?
That's kind of why I did it the way I did in the book, and kind of drew that line. You know, I put the dog soldiers in there, put the Ultimataneo. Then I said, okay, that's a willing choice of somebody from Lakota or, Cherokee or whoever decides that they're going to follow that path. They make that decision. But if they turn and follow the dark side, then they turn into beasts and they never turn back. So I got to thinking, I was like, well, what happens if, because obviously, everybody knows all the werewolf tropes. You get bitten or scratched by a werewolf and you survive, you turn into a werewolf. So I'm like, okay, well, what happens if you get, because obviously if these dog soldiers that have turned and they don't gone to the dark side, so to speak, and they don't come back, they don't change back into human form. They're constantly beasts. Maybe that's some of the things that, like when people see demonic and things like that, maybe that's what you're kind of seeing. What happens if somebody gets attacked by one of them and they survive? So that's where I made that's where a werewolf came from. That's somebody who can, they didn't go through a ceremony and choose, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to follow this lifestyle. They were just attacked. So they were able to, it doesn't matter. They can still shift back and forth between human and wolf, but they still have a choice to make. And that's why I based it on the Cherokee proverb of the good wolf and the evil wolf. The old Cherokee grandfather's telling the story to his son or
about
his
the wolf you feed.
Yeah. So which wolf survives, grandfather? The one you feed. So, everybody's got that choice they got to make, no matter what it is. Whether it's, are you going to choose to be a good werewolf or a bad werewolf? Or are you going to choose to be a good person or a bad person? Everybody's got to make that choice. And it's the choices you make is what feeds what you're going to be. And, it's easy to, the bad choices are going to come to you really easy. You don't have to go looking for the bad stuff. You got to go looking for the good stuff. And that's what I kind of wanted to go with that was, it's easy to make those bad choices. It's easy to say, oh, I like that power. That power is seductive. I want to go this way. But it's harder to go. The good wolf is not going to come up to you. You got to pursue him. You got to make sure he understands that you're wanting to make the free will choice. So I put a lot of different spins on it, just, because I wanted a different take on where I wanted it to be a straight up werewolf, not a cryptid. There's cryptids in the book, obviously, but I wanted the main thing to be just straight up werewolf. But I wanted it to be the kind of werewolf that I've always wanted to see, because werewolves have always gotten a bad rap in the movies in Hollywood and things like that. And there's never, everybody loves vampires. Vampires always get the best movies. Werewolves never get get what they deserve. And I wanted to write the kind of werewolf book that I wanted to read.
Oh yeah. Well, I can promise you, I have been contacted by people who may be in the chat right now, saying that werewolves do watch my show, and there may be a couple in the chat right now, actually. People who do watch my shows. So shout out to all my werewolf buddies. I know who y'all are. I see you in here. Okay, and I 100% believe it. Okay, I totally believe it, and I think it's pretty cool actually, because werewolves are people too. Okay, and so are, I mean, I didn't know you were going to give that away tonight, but it is on the thumbnail. Shadow walkers are werewolves, right? And I didn't know if we were going to actually make that total connection tonight, because it's in your book. Shadow walkers are werewolves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that what we're
like I said, about? I don't know if what I am talking about in the book is exactly what the same. This is what when I came up with that title, my daughter and I were talking, and she's like, you're making a series out of this. You need something else. And she's like, well, you need a tribe. And no, this is not a tribe. This is more of a what they are type thing. And not so much what they are as okay, they're a werewolf, but there's a scene towards the end, or not towards the end, I guess it's towards the middle, where somebody describes what he's looking at, but he says it's almost like a cloud of ink floating there. So to me, the Shadow Walkers, the Shadow Walkers to me are. I first got that idea part of it from I can't take full credit of it. Chris Fox, who wrote "There's No Such Thing as Werewolves."
Mm-hmm.
His thing is, the males and the females. The Isis is the one that made werewolves, and she split them up. Males can do a whole different set. They have a whole different set of powers than the females. The females could hide in the pull the shadows around them. My thing is, I think any werewolf would be able to do that. So, especially one that has gone to the dark side and is completely and totally evil, he would be able to almost completely disappear other than the red eyes. And he was able to pull the shadows in, and that's how he's able to move around. So, and, get to ambush on, or get to jump on people and ambush people. So to me, that's what the Shadow Walkers are the completely, totally evil werewolves who have gone to the dark side, who do not care, and just there's an entity in the book. I don't know if you've got to that part of it or not yet, but there's two entities in the book, but there's an entity in the book, and he's just like the angel and the devil sitting on your shoulder, the old little cartoon. There's a lot of that. So to speak, not specifically an angel and a devil, but that whole dichotomy.
Right.
So
the symbolism of it.
Yeah, the symbolism of that.
Yeah. Well, I love that we're talking about werewolves and Dogman. Scott has a question in the audience tonight. He said, "Do Dogman gibber talk like Bigfoot?" Some people call it samurai talk. Some people they just kind of do a little jibber jabber. I've heard it before, and we had a guest on Wednesday. My buddy Mike was on the show, and he said that he was telling us about his encounter with two dogmen in New York, and he said they were completely silent. Completely silent. He said, even as they were, he said, well, maybe it was just because he was just so kind of traumatized a little bit. He was a little terrified of what was going on, and he just didn't hear it. Okay. And there's that thing, Robby, I know I've experienced it. I don't know about you, but I have, where something wild's happening and it's like your ears just start ringing, and it's just like you lose your senses kind of, but you're trying to like understand what's happening, and it's that fight or flight kind of thing, right? It's like you don't know.
Get lost in the moment of what's going on, and we've talked about this before, because people love to say, well, why didn't you take pictures? Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you do that?
Right.
Until you've been in a situation like that, where something like that's going on, and it's like you said, a fight or flight. DA had his phone in his hand when he saw the Dogman, and it never occurred to him to do this, because you're not thinking about stuff like that in that situation. When we were in Combs Ferry and had our thing 2 years ago, or last year rather, and we were getting rocks and stuff thrown at us, all that stuff, I had camera around my neck, but the last thing I was thinking about was pulling a camera off and starting snapping pictures, because we didn't know what was going to happen in the next 2 minutes, because we were sitting there, 3 of us were sitting there waiting on the bus to get back, waiting on the boat to get back. We had our backs to the water with our boot heels touching the edge of the water. We didn't know if we were going to be around in the next 5 minutes, much less start think about taking pictures or recording or any of that kind of stuff. But until you've been in a situation like that, it's hard to think about. You've been in those situations. A lot of times that's the last thing on your mind is, oh, let me get my camera out, or let me.
It's not even my radar. And plus, if you were to get it, okay, so I always say I don't live in fear. I try not to ever live in fear, but that doesn't mean my hands aren't going to shake. Okay, stuff like you're not thinking about it. You just don't think about it. And so that's why my thing, well, people that watch my channels, they know I'm not about, having to have like presenting evidence to everybody. I didn't do this because I'm here to prove something to anybody. Okay. I'm just not in it to do that. Now, I will bring people on my shows that have a lot of evidence and stuff, and we'll show it. If I see it, I'll show it on the show. If I don't see it, we don't show the evidence. Okay. Like, and y'all know what I mean by that. I'm not real big into those red circles and stuff. Okay. So, but I will show some stuff. If I see it, I'll show it. Okay. But when you are out there and you're having I'm all about the experience of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The experience, the less technology that I take out there, the more experience that I have, the more encounters that I have. That's just been me personally. Everybody's different. Okay. Everybody's different. Everybody's got a different style of research and stuff. But mine is, I go out there to just experience everything. The last thing I'm going to do is take a picture. Now, if I have on a GoPro or something, that's different. Okay. If you put it, I'm about to start carrying my GoPro. I think I'm going to start doing some experiments, and I'm putting my GoPro on and see what we can catch. But
yeah, and that's honestly, that's probably the best way to do it, is go out with something like a GoPro where you can just turn it on and forget about it. Because like, we went down to the Blunt Road, and we're sitting there, and we go down, and that's the place we went to a couple years ago where we found the mutilated deer carcasses. So we go down there and we go to turn around, and we look out in the creek, or out in the James River, and there's something out where Doc had turned and the headlights hit it. There's something that's out there it's coming against the current. Current's flowing this way, and it's coming towards us. The current's flowing away from us. And it's sticking up about 4.5, 5 feet out of the water. And DA said, if his memory was 100% correct, that was about 7 feet deep right there where that area is. So you do the math on that. Yeah. Wow. Somebody's like, why didn't you get out and take pictures of it? I'm like, that was the last thing on. I mean, I got out and I started walking towards it because you know me, I'm stupid. But I still, even doing that, I wasn't thinking anything about videoing. I was thinking about was getting my flashlight on it so I could see if I could see some eye shine, which I did.
Yeah.
But I wasn't out there to prove or disprove anything. I was out there with my brothers trying to have some experiences, just like when you and I were out there. That's all we were out there doing, was having experience. We weren't out there to prove or disprove anything to anybody. I don't need to prove it to myself. You don't need to prove it to yourself. We know what we know. Yeah. And I'm not out there to get my 15 minutes of fame by catching anything on video or anything. I mean, yeah, if I find a good print and I've got the stuff with me, which 99% of the time I do, I'm going to make a cast of it. But more than likely, I'm going to make that cast for myself so I can keep it and say, look what I got. I did this myself, you know.
Oh yeah.
I'm not in this to prove or disprove or anything. I'm in this because I enjoy it.
Me too. You know, you sent me a picture of a track one day, and it was it looked like a wolf print or something that was over near your school where you were working, right?
Yep.
Whatever came of that? That was a big print.
Well, I don't work at that department anymore. I'm at a different department now, but that was I actually found a bigger one behind my dad's house. And my dad's house, my real dad, is not far from where that howl was recorded. Because Johnny and I actually went up there and stayed about 2.5, 3 hours, I think, out there one night, seeing if we could hear anything. But that print was 5.5 inches long. And I asked Ken Gerhardt, I was talking to him at a show, and I asked him, I said, Ken, what's the biggest wolf print you've ever found in the wild? He said about 4.5 inches. And I showed him the picture of that one, and I had the knife with me. So, you know, I could, obviously I didn't have a ruler in that, but I laid the knife down in my hand and showed him the picture and showed him the knife there. And he was like, that's a big problem. He said, I've never seen one that big in the wild. So,
wow. Yeah. Well, you guys are notoriously known in the area where you live for, like I said, the Anderson werewolf. These things travel pretty far. And I don't think there was just one werewolf. I think it was a bunch of them. And honestly, there's probably Dogman though. I don't know, because it never actually hurt anybody. It was just going after the farm animals. All the livestock, bunch of livestock was, getting slaughtered. And I don't think it was actually eating the livestock. It was pretty much just tearing it apart, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, and that's Doc talked about that one in Meeker, Colorado. That's the same. There was a bunch of livestock that got mutilated up there, and they actually tested it, and it was unknown canine DNA. Tell me what's unknown canine in this day and age.
Well, actually, I believe with some of those reports that have been taken of people who've been unalived, as we say on YouTube, by packs of wild dogs and stuff, it seems like some of those reports talk about unknown animal DNA, right? It's
unknown canine.
Unknown canine.
The FedEx driver.
That's it.
Yeah,
Missouri.
They say unknown canine. There's in this day and age, there should be no unknown canine DNA, and that case is still open. Even though they say the dogs did it, that case is still open, so it can't be for you. And I think you and I have talked about that before.
Yeah,
and that's the only reason that I can see in my estimation that case will be kept open. And Rodney's in the chat too. He'll back me up on this. If the case is still open, it's not you're not eligible to go in and FOIA because they've never released the toxicology on the dogs, or the necropsy or any of that stuff. They had to go inside the house and shoot the dogs because the dogs weren't outside when they got there. So the dogs let themselves out and then let themselves back in.
I'm sorry, that just sounds like a cover-up to me.
And
they needed a scapegoat.
Yeah, and the sheriff and the coroner both said that they'd never seen body tore up that bad in their entire career. But yeah, they still hadn't. The case is open, even though the dogs did it.
Yeah.
Too many questions, not enough answers.
I know. I remember DA came on my show. He and I talked about that. With some
we've done a show. Cases. We've done several shows on that one.
Yeah, that's a weird one, and I think it's good that we got, we got some people looking into them and stuff. And that's why I really enjoy getting those remote viewing targets too, when it comes to some of these unspecified animal attacks. A lot of those unspecified animal attacks though, that I've been tasked with for targets ended up being large cats, I think. And I think that's what it's interesting, because I think that these large cats are going to come down from the trees. They're going to attack much like a dogman would, or vice versa, I think.
Well, you and I talked about that one in North Carolina, where the woman was attacked
Brenda Hamilton.
Was attacked. What part of North Carolina was that?
I can't remember exactly. Somebody in the chat will know. The Brenda Hamilton case, though, that was tragic. Tragic. The lady had gotten up. She would walk her. It seems like, does she have dogs?
She would walk her dogs.
Yeah, she would walk her dogs at like 5 a.m.
Yeah, I was about to say it's like 4 or 5 in the morning, because that was one of the times we talked about that. One of the times I was on your show.
She would walk her dogs at 4 or 5 in the morning, and she ended up in a ditch with water. It was like really high up, and there weren't any tracks. Now it's suspicious to me because tracking, I know tracking. And if there's any kind of suspicious activity, if somebody gets unalived or whatever happened to her happened, first thing I would do if I was a police, and you're a police officer, like, wouldn't they call people in to like cordon off the crime scene? Is that what you call it? and then bring people in to investigate it. And they're going to look for tracks and footprints. Taping it off.
We're taping it off. We put crime scene tape up, and you're taught. That's one of the first things that I was taught, and Rodney can tell you too, because he was an investigator before he was my chief. If you look at the area and you say, okay, my crime scene's 100 square yards, let's say, then you double that, because you want to encompass as much room as you can to any kind of trace evidence that might be scattered past further. So you figure out how big your crime scene is, and you roughly double that is what you tape off.
Ooh. That's why I love having law enforcement people on my show, so you guys can talk about these things with a lot of knowledge on it. And so in her case, it seemed as though there weren't a whole lot. They said there weren't a lot of prints around. And so to me, when I remote viewed that, I was seeing something in a tree, like a big black, like a Black Panther actually, and it looked like it came down. I kept getting all this motion from like something up high that jumped down. And I remember getting like data that it was like collar, it had a chip in it or something. It had something. That was somebody's pet. It was either somebody's. Okay, here's the thing with the Brenda Hamilton case, and this is just from my data. I think it was either somebody's pet that got loose, like an exotic pet, or maybe it could have been a Dogman. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it was a Dogman though. But nonetheless, something came down from a tree. And Robby, we hear about that a lot when it comes to Dogman attacks.
Well, and you talked about the LBL earlier. Mm-hmm. A lot of the victims have been their remains have been found up in a tree. The two bicyclists, one of their bikes was found wrapped around a tree about 10 and a half, 12 feet up the ground. The little girl, her remains were found up in a tree. I mean, I don't know too many black bears that climb trees with the bicycle in their mouth and then wrap the bicycle around a tree.
Oh yeah,
I ain't never seen that happen. Maybe, but I ain't never seen that.
Yeah, well, you guys found a deer carcass, right? Like up in a tree.
Yeah, yeah, we did. We in Combs Ferry the first time we went out there. This last time we went out there, we found a small patch of it about that big, hung up in another tree in another same area, but different tree, obviously. But yeah, we've had a lot of people say, "Oh, well, that was a mountain lion," but the tree was that big around, and the two limbs were on like opposite sides of the tree, and it was about 7.5 to 8 feet off the ground, and it was hung around two limbs that were on, like I said, on opposite sides of the tree. Number one, there's not a big cat that's going to climb up a tree that small. Number two, there was no tracks anywhere around the tree. There were a bear would have been tall enough to do it, but the thing is, how is a bear? If a bear had the hide in its mouth, there's no with the hide hanging down this way. There's no way he was going to get it around two limbs on the opposite sides of the. It's like trees here, limb here, and it's wrapped around those two limbs. That carcass was put there, and my stepdad said, he said, there's only two things in my mind that could have done that: a man or a Bigfoot. And I said, or Dogman. There's three.
Yeah, or Dogman, or a tornado. I mean, if there had been like a tornado or something, but I mean.
But now here's the thing about that. Yeah, you're right. That could have happened. But it was 90-something degrees that time. Blood was still red on the tree and on the ground. Doc and Steve are both, in the medical field. Doc said for that blood to still be red, it had to, at that heat that it was, with all the bugs that were around. Number one, there was no maggots, there was no flies, no nothing that was around it. So he said that would have to have been done within the past 2 to 2.5 hours. And we were out there then. There wasn't no tornadoes.
Yeah, I just put it out there, coming from a research stance. Okay, but yeah, that's wild. There was something, because right after it happened, you sent me some pictures. It was like that same night. I think.
And then on the other side of the trail, about 3 to 4 yards away, we find the Missouri tree trout.
The tree trout. That's right. Wasn't it like a head of a fish or something?
Yeah, fish head.
Stuck in a tree?
With the eyeballs removed.
That was weird too. It was like something put it there to save it for later. It was making some fish jerky.
I think that they were both territorial markers, because things didn't start getting aggressive till after we passed that point. Once we passed those two, that's when rocks started getting tossed around. When we were waiting on the boat to get back, they were taking them out two at a time, and there was going to have to be one of us at that point. We thought one of us was going to have to be on the ground by ourselves. And me and DA were having an argument about who the last one was going to be. And I'm like, no, I'm not going back and facing a net. If something happens to you, I said, you go. You and Noah go. I'll wait. And he's like, oh, no, Noah's like, dang it, I'm not leaving either one of you here. And all three of us were arguing. So when Richard come back with a boat, DA just said, hey, do you think all three of us can fit? Because That put 4 of us in it. That we wasn't small people. Let's put it that way. That boat struggled, but that's the one we backed out back in. We back out in the channel, and Richard shined a little spotlight on there, and you can see I shine all along the tree line. There's probably like 7 or 8 sets of eyes.
Something was watching y'all for sure. Brandon, this is a great question. Can I do a show on minotaurs? I have Joel Thomas coming on. We're going to be talking about that when he comes on. We had to reschedule about a week ago, and we were planning on talking about that. So we're going to get him rescheduled. We'll have a show very soon where we're going to be talking about human-animal chimeras pretty much throughout history and stuff too. And yeah, that comes up in my remote viewing data occasionally, like horse-headed humans and bull humans and stuff like that. I know it's a little weird and wacky, but yes, we will be doing a show on that. I promise, for sure. And yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys had a pretty interesting trip out there, and lots of weird anomalous stuff. Animal carcasses and animal parts up in the trees. I mean, it could be a person's worst nightmare going out there, but of course, that's what you guys were out there to find. I mean, to look for. And you found it. That sounds like a great place to go cryptid hunting.
Well, I mean, there's a reason DA puts that area in the books all the time.
Is that the same place with the Table Rock Lake?
Yeah, that's on Table Rock Lake.
That's Table Rock Lake. Okay, that's where you guys where you had the Dogman encounter with that video.
Yep, the one that you remote viewed. Yeah,
I did a remote viewing.
Same lake, but where you did the remote view was Joe Ball, which is about 10 miles across the lake from where Combs Ferry is. So that's Joe Ball was the first big area. He didn't put Combs Ferry in the book till after we did our little outing the first time. Joe Ball was in the Lakeview Man first, but same lake, but like I said, it was just a different area. Joe Ball is an area, it was a campsite, and it was shut down in the 80s by the Army Corps of Engineers. Don't know why. It was a primitive camp. There was
because they're always shutting stuff down. They bring them in as an excuse to have eminent domain over stuff. I swear I've seen it happen with our family, and I'm just going to leave it at that with some of our property that we had that the family was trying to sell. Okay, they do. I'm telling you, they do it. Property grabs. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I
obviously have had my hide was chapped from them. Yeah. Okay.
That's the area he had you remote view the first time was Joe Ball. That's where we found the power boxes that time when we was out here.
That's right.
When we found the track and we were going to come back the next day and cast it, and the truck mysteriously drove through it after we left, and we had the 24-hour service truck that just had 24-hour service on it. Didn't have, and there's nothing in that area. That's just basically just a parking area now. But
Robby, I just thought of something. I had Eric from Media Palace. He's got a YouTube channel. He does a lot of FOIA requests for any kind of cryptid encounters with our national parks, anything that's like government related. He sends in FOIA requests, and he gets some of it back. A lot of it's redacted, or either they just ignore him or they don't send stuff. And he was telling me, what is that? The beast of... He's out of like near Austin, Texas. I can't remember the name of the beast out there, but there's a river out there near Austin.
About the lake.
No, this was not the lake. This was not Lake Worth. Nope. This is somewhere different. It's the I can't remember the name of it. Okay, somebody in the chat might know, but and Eric might even be in here tonight. Who knows? But it was there's a river out there, and it's the beast of whatever that river is. Okay. And he said that there were some people that had some encounters. I don't know if it was him or what, but they went out there. There were some prints, and then like somebody had come in there and driven in donuts or something out there. I don't remember. It sounds very similar to what you're talking about.
Well,
Brushy Creek, maybe Brushy Creek. Thank you, Walter. The beast of Brushy Creek. That's right. Walter's the man. I appreciate you. Yes. I'm getting, what is that called? A brain fart. Where I can't remember stuff all the time. I'm getting old, Robby.
I know.
I'm trying I'm trying my best.
I have that all the time.
I know, right? The Beast of Brushy Creek. Yeah. And there was something similar to that, is what he was telling me, though. It seems like there had been some tracks out there, and then somebody came and just like, messed up. Also, people were out there doing donuts, and it pissed off the beast. Okay, too. So a lot of activity out there, though. The Beast of Texas. That's right, Topper. Man, yeah. I mean, we've there's no shortage of beasts, okay, out there for us to go hunting and stuff. And when I say hunting, I don't mean we're out there to hurt them, y'all. Okay, I know it's all about the language, right? It's like maybe we investigate them. We don't hunt them down. Yep. We don't hunt them. They hunt us, though, for sure. For the most part, we're not out there to hurt them. But yeah, that whole Dogman. So for people who are not familiar with that, Joe Bald. Okay, I did a remote viewing target for DA. I came on y'all's show a couple years ago. It's been a long time, and we went over the data, and I was telling you guys, there's an underground facility there. That's when I started learning about the secret space program. For people who are familiar with all my work that I do with remote viewing, I bring secret space program survivors onto my shows, and I'm given these blind targets. Well, I had never even really knew anything about the secret space program, and that was in the data. That's where I got involved in the SSP stuff, was through that target that you're talking about at Joe Bald Recreation Area. What part of Missouri is that in, Robbie?
Just up from Galena. Because Blunt Road is in Galena, and DA lives in Springfield, so it's just, I think it takes us about 20, 30 minutes to get to Joe Ball from his house. So, and then you keep on going the other way to go to Blunt Road, which is right outside of Galena. So it's in the Springfield, Galena, that area.
Well, in that data, I kept getting I picked up that there was a secret space program hub. Okay, like whatever was going on there was like a laboratory down there. There's like all sorts of underground tunnels and a facility of some sort there. And I was like, y'all got to look for some kind of door. There's going to be something out of place. You guys went back and you actually found some air ducts in the middle of nowhere, right?
We found power boxes.
Oh, that's even better.
Big green power boxes that are with the 3-phase cables coming out of it. That's what we found.
So would you say that backs up the data that said that there's some kind of facility underground potentially? Could it?
It was a primitive campsite or a camping area that there was no power. DA said there was never power in it at all, because there was no shower rooms, or we call them bathhouses or whatever. There's none of that. It was one of those where you pull up and you had the little hook, the metal pole with a hook that you hang your lantern on for light. And it's actually but Joe Ball's actually in Stone County. I couldn't think of the name of the county, but it's Stone County, because he changed the name in the book to Sloan County, just so it wasn't, but it's Stone County. But anyway, there was nothing in there. The only thing that possibly could have had power to it was the guard shack, which is right next to the entrance. Where we found the box was in the middle of the one of the drive-through. It's a good ways away from that. So what the power box is doing there, because at first we were like, okay, well, maybe somebody just brought it in here. And it was me and Noah were looking around. Then we saw I'm talking cables that were that big around that went straight down into the ground, and they were big. Those big 3-phase cables.
Whoa, yeah, that's just wild. I mean, I go camping at primitive campsites sometimes, and there is no power at all out there. I mean, if you want, not even no street lamps, no nothing. Okay, nothing. Even in the toilets and stuff, there's no lights in there. And yeah, those toilets were scary, by the way. A lot of those toilets at those primitive sites. Watch out now. Okay, don't put your tent too close, especially in the summertime, because it's gonna stink. Okay,
yep.
Just a little pro tip, y'all. Try to stay away from them.
But this is what is so weird about it is you could go in, like if they wanted to, they could go into Joe Ball, hire a crew, go in there, trim things down, clean it up, replace a table or two, and it would be perfectly fine to camp in. Not a problem. Just little minor things. But you go over to Combs Ferry, it's like an apocalyptic wasteland.
Oh, no.
Tables have been. There's a Wyatt has got a picture of me just so because we didn't get a good picture of the table last time and it was dark. So this last time we went over, Wyatt took a picture of me standing on the table, so there was some scale. Jessica, that tabletop was that thick, and I could have laid down on it and still had a foot and a half of room on either side of my head or my feet. That's how big and thick this solid concrete. It still had rebar and all that stuff inside of it, and it's 15 to 20 yards away from the rest of the table. Now, this is all, you can't get vehicles back in here. It's a peninsula, but you can't get a vehicle back in there because they put these big rock, and I'm talking these boulders that are like, you'd have to have a rock crawler to get over them. You couldn't take an ATV, so it would took heavy equipment to move that tabletop and put it in the middle of that roadway.
They do that. That's what DNR does at a lot of these places where I go Bigfooting, they'll put berms up and stuff. And they'll say, they'll say that there's like they're going to do a controlled burn, and we keep up, my team keeps up with like when they're doing stuff and they're in the know. And I don't know, sometimes it just gets to be a little suspicious at times. That's all I'm saying. Because we know that they are blocking off those main roads and locking those gates where all the Bigfoots are. So I don't know. There's just certain times of years too, we don't even go up there because we know the gates are all going to be locked. There's going to be berms in the road, and everything's going to be blocked off. But that is very suspicious. And you said that it's an abandoned campground.
Mm-hmm. Both of them
call it abandoned, right?
Yeah. Joe Ball is one that the Army Corps of Engineers shut down in the 80s, and I don't remember when DA said they shut down Combs Ferry, but it's kind of the same way. But like I said, it looks like a post-apocalyptic wasteland. It just looks like what you would see in like some of these video games where years after humanity has left things alone. That's just what it looks like in there. It's hard to explain if you hadn't seen it, and it's just.
Ooh, I gotta tell you something. Too. So Montauk is Strange is in here. This is Brian Minnick, y'all. Brian's been on the show several times. What's up, Brian? He and I spent some time together up at Montauk, New York, at Camp Hero, where they have it's right there on the very tippy top of Long Island, New York. And I was there about almost a year and a half ago, I guess, with Brian. And Brian is the resident expert on Montauk in all things. Well, first of all things strange. Okay. But this is where they did the Montauk project and what they based Stranger Things off of. Okay. And they have that radar tower that's pretty infamous. Everybody knows about. Brian knows this place like the back of his hand, all the barracks, all that stuff. It's a creepy, creepy place, Robby. Super creepy place. And he said hardened generators. If anybody knows abandoned places, this guy knows abandoned places and what all the parts mean and what all the generators are and any kind of boxes and anything that's out of place. He knows what it is. Okay. So thank you for being here, Brian. I'm excited that you're here because we're actually talking about this. He took me on a tour. So Brian was like my tour guide, basically. Everybody that was with us, our tour guide, on places to go at Camp Hero up there. And that's kind of, I don't want to say, I don't know if it's an abandoned facility. I mean, it kind of is an abandoned facility. They may still be doing some kind of work there. We don't know what's going on underground. Okay. No matter if it's abandoned on the top where we can see it, there could still be stuff going down, underground for sure. And I think that's the case at Joe Bald.
This thing was upended and the wires were cut at the bottom of it. So
cut.
Yeah. That's how we could see the wires because they were cut from them. So it was upended. Now I say cut, I mean, but it was the one that we found was not attached.
Mhm.
and it wasn't attached anymore. Put it that way, but the
Yeah.
wires went straight down into the ground.
Hmm.
I don't know if they were coming from a power source or if they were going down to something. Don't know because they.
Okay. Do you think this is just your thought on it, and this is my thought? Do you think that they would get wind, catch wind? Is that how you say it? Catch wind. That people are curious about that area. I mean, y'all have a pretty popular podcast and stuff, and DA's been writing about this place for a while, and I would assume that it's probably gotten some attention, or brought some people out there. Maybe we've talked about it plenty of times. People that watch my show might have gone out there to Table Rock Lake and looked for this. Do you think maybe there's an element of them, because we know there's the cover up is deep. Okay,
Mhm.
the cover ups are deep, and there's no links that I say they won't go to cover this up. Cover up if there are dogmen out there and there are cryptids out there, and I believe there are.
Well,
Because I did a remote viewing of it.
and all you got to do is go back and watch that video, the Joe Ball breakdown video, and watch what they pulled off that video. If you want the hairs on the back of your neck to stand up, go to DA's YouTube page and go to videos and go to Joe Ball breakdown video. That's the video that got Jessica to do the remote viewing that she's talking about. Because there's no doubt. I mean, this was filmed on a cell phone, so it's not like there's any kind of who doing it. And how long ago was it, Jessica? 5-6 years ago?
It's been a long time, actually. Yeah. I did that remote viewing target right after I met DA. I had not even met you yet. I met you for the first time on that show.
Yeah. So it's probably been.
I've had my channel for, I'm going to say, I mean, I haven't had my channel for that long. Okay, so 4 years max. 3-4 years.
It's been a minute. Let's put it that way. Yeah. It's been a minute.
2021 is when I opened my channel here.
AI was not prevalent at the time. I mean, I'm sure there was people with money who had it, but DA and Steve on his cell phone filming it did not have any kind of, because it took them a little bit to get what they got out of it, just because it was such a grainy cell phone video. But you can see, you've seen the video, Jessica. You can see the thing moving, and when they zoom in, you can clearly. I mean, it looks like what's hanging above my head here on Jessica's background.
Yeah,
that's pretty much what it looks like, only supersized.
In a hand.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, hand.
You can see a hand with claws with a head. It's like doing this.
And you can see it move clear. I mean, there is no doubt about the movement. And that's the exact area where we took off this last time. We took off up. We heard something, and off up in the woods we went.
Oh, my gosh. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a great place to go and investigate. Of course, my data said that whatever that was a watcher, and it was guarding a facility right there. So there was, I told y'all, go look for whatever you can find. There's something that's probably hidden, camouflaged, that leads down into some area below ground. And sure enough, that's when y'all found those power boxes and stuff out there. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I mean, we got to keep on looking. But like I said, if people are going out there and examining things, and you guys are out there looking for it, there's no boundaries. There's no extent that they would not go to, okay, to keep it covered up. And of course, they put those boulders are not stopping y'all, right? The boulders they put out there, the berms, they hadn't stopped y'all. Y'all went around them and got in a boat, right? You got in a boat and came around the backside. I don't think
there's any, because that's a peninsula, so I don't think that there's any. I don't think they're putting bases out there. I think that's just, I think it's just an area that they end up gravitating to. And honestly, I don't think that it's a lot of Bigfoot in the Joe Ball. I think that's strictly Dogman, because it's a different feeling in Joe Ball than it is in Combs Ferry.
Oh yeah. Well, there's probably all different. And I just want to say happy birthday, y'all. Give a happy birthday shout out in the chat, y'all, to our good friend Drewski right here. It was his birthday this week. Thank you, Drewski, for being here. Cryptid Warfare podcast, y'all. Go over there and give him a subscribe.
You know, Eric's in the
Happy
chat, so
birthday, Drew.
he can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but there I think it's like 117 square miles of shoreline that Table Rock Lake has. Oh, it's
Okay.
big. Eric, correct me if I'm wrong
Damn.
on that, but it's huge.
That's way bigger than I thought it would be.
Oh yeah,
What?
it's and very, very deep. So it's there's because he was talking about Big Bay earlier. That's in the same area. He said they closed it down in the 2000s. So there's a lot. I mean, that's it's a beautiful area, and I would assume that land is wouldn't be cheap. Yep.
So it makes you wonder, like, why are they not utilizing that land right there if they could develop it or just do something with it?
Yeah.
They've just got it sitting there for no reason.
Well, from my understanding, and like I said, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong. There've been plenty of people that's tried to go in there, and the Army Corps of Engineers will not release it.
Yeah, Sovereign Cosmic Wildman has a good point. They make it look abandoned in a lot of areas. It's a front. It is a front. I believe that too. I believe that is a possibility for sure. They've got all sorts of tricks up their sleeves, okay, to keep us out of places. And you know what? And it may be for our own good too, because if they've got all this dangerous stuff that has secret doorways and latched, doors and stuff. People talk about hearing those metal clangs in the woods, like at the LBL. They say it sounds like a big metal dumpster is being dropped on the ground. I think that might be doors opening up and letting the cryptids in and out of someplace. Maybe.
House in the house. Yeah, DA's not turning me into a Renaissance man house. You know better than that. I'm just no hillbilly just like you.
What? There must be a comment down here.
Yeah, Greg House said DA's turning me into a Renaissance man.
Hey, Greg. Renaissance man.
Yes,
because you're an author now.
Greg, I'm just proud that you spelled Renaissance man correct. I love you, brother. I am proud of you. Oh, don't worry.
Y'all are so silly.
I'll get 5 messages here in a minute about that.
Oh my gosh. Thank you for being here, Greg. That's sweet. Look, Robby is top notch. He is a learned man. Okay. He is skilled, especially when it comes to writing now. And I love it that you and I have been out in the field together. It's Drewski that's in the chat. Drewski's who I went on the Dogman hunt with out in Alabama.
Yep.
And we've done the Skinwalker cave investigation together. And so I've done quite a bit of boots on the ground with him. Out in the field. We even went up to North Georgia at some point. We've had some adventures, man. We have, and we got some more planned too. I'm just wondering when you're coming back out with me. You coming back? You coming up to the Georgia Bigfoot Conference?
I might. I'll have to see what's going on. But I got to get down to Alabama with Greg, get down to the man cave and see something because he got a lot of stuff going on down there.
Oh yeah. Well, dang.
Yeah, just don't go to the train station with me.
I remember that. Robby, do you remember when I kept getting that wrong? I said that one time. You'd said that, and I said something. I said it wrong. And
I remember you saying it wrong. I don't remember what you said.
Because I didn't watch Yellowstone. That was not my show. I never watched it hardly. I actually know one of the guys that sang. Okay, this is weird. This is wild, right? I know a lot of random people. One of the guys from was part of the soundtrack to that show. He and I used to send each other vintage goods back and forth to each other. Shout out to Bad Wolf. What's up? But anyways, wow, that's a good show. But yeah, I will not listen. I know what the train station means now, Eric. Thank you for being here, Eric, by the way. Yeah. Eric comes on the show quite a bit too. But yeah, we're going to have to keep looking into Joe Bald and stuff. Has DA been out there lately? I mean, I know he probably wouldn't. He goes when you guys come up there, right?
Yeah, I want to say him and Noah went back down there not long ago, not long after me and Doc left. But yeah, we went down there a couple times. The last time when me and Doc were both there, and yeah, it kind of sucked the first time because it started raining on us and it was cold the entire week. And then the day Doc and I leave, it's 60 degrees and sunny.
Oh my God! Greg said it took 3 tries. It must be spelling Renaissance, right?
Third time's the charm, brother. Third time's the charm.
Oh my God, that's too funny. Oh man. Hey, Mike Jones. What's up, Mike Jones? That's my cousin right there. Right, Mike? Oh my gosh. What do you think about portals? I know you guys are like flesh and bone camp. Y'all have always been flesh and bone camp. Are you still wait a second. Here's my question. Are you still flesh and bone camp, Robbie?
Mm-hmm.
You are?
And
okay.
And my thing is, if they could do that, even if 1% of them were, which we know more than that, attack people, but even if it's even 1% and they could do that, they'd be portaling into our houses and tricking us out of the.
Oh, some people say they do get Bigfoot's portaling in their house. Wait,
I think
I'm not going to go there.
I think something like that would be hard for the government to keep under wraps.
We actually heard somebody at a conference, you and I together. We heard somebody talking about Bigfoot's having a party under their house and stuff, but we won't go there with that.
Eating their potato salad out of their refrigerator. And
that was yes. And I'm not discounting anyone's stories at all.
Not either.
But some of them, even for me, are a little bit. Okay. Okay. I don't know who's
I know CERN open portals. I know that is an actual thing. I don't think, if that was a thing, why don't we see anything else in nature using that? Is my thing. And like I said, I'm not saying that to discredit. I'm just saying this. I've never seen anything that showed me anything other than just an animal. You've heard me say it a million times.
Fair enough.
But you know as well as anybody else that if I see something like that, I'll be the first to say, you know what, I was wrong.
Oh my God. Well, you have seen orbs. Hey, I was super excited when you told me you saw orbs, right? You've seen orbs.
I think I did.
You saw some orbs. That's a little supernatural, huh, Robbie? You were excited to tell me about it too.
Yeah,
so
because I honestly don't know exactly what I was seeing, but I didn't want to stand next to Johnny and Greg and be influenced by what they were saying right next to them. So me being me, I went in the pitch black dark about 75 yards down the trail away from them. I know.
Yeah, I love it.
There was no Noah, no Robby Wrangler was anywhere around. You know, I was out on my own. Anyway.
Oh my gosh.
I was sitting there watching, and I could still hear them, but I was seeing things before what they were saying was getting to me. Instead of me being right beside them and hearing exactly what they were saying, it was like I could see something, and then I would hear them say it. So I wasn't being influenced by what they were saying. Is what I'm getting at.
Was it hive mind?
Yeah,
or hive mind.
Which is exactly what I didn't want. Because the minute you say, "Hey, did you see that?" Like when you bring somebody and you got a track, you say, "Hey, look at that track," they're automatically going to see a track. Then you get somebody, you say, "Hey, what do you see?" "Oh, well, I see a track," or "Oh, I don't see anything." You have to let somebody make their own determination, because if you imprint something on their mind, 9 times out of 10, that's what they're going to see. You say, "Did you see the face in that tree bark?"
Did you hear that Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes if you go in the woods looking for Bigfoot, everything's going to be a Bigfoot. If you're not keeping an open mind about everything. So, yeah, you gotta be careful. Not everything's a Bigfoot. I'm not saying it was a Bigfoot, but it might have been a Bigfoot. Okay.
Yep.
That's kind of my go-to with everything that happens to us out there. Firewater by Design. Thank you so much for that super sticker. It don't mean a thing without Miss Jessica Southern Twang. Thank you. Hit the like button, y'all. Yes. You know, that's interesting that you just said it don't mean a thing. That was actually a song I used to sing when I was in dance competitions and stuff. I used to sing a song called It Don't Mean a Thing. I swear to goodness I did. And the woman who taught me how to sing real well was at this memorial service for my grandmother today. And anyways, it's a long story. What a connection. I love that. Thank you, Firewater by Design, though. I appreciate it. Okay, Greg, I'm a little behind on the comments right now. Greg said, I'm planning to go to Tennessee. Kumbo is going to be there. I told him I would go. So, and Eric said, with the Bizarre and the Unknown, he says, I'm trying to make a camping trip in that area soon. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think we should really think about doing that meet and greet. Okay, I think we
Yeah.
really should. I think we'd get a good crowd out there, and I think that would be really, really fun, actually. And I get to meet DA in person too. That would be fun. I
You and
hadn't gotten a
DA,
chance to meet all them.
you never met DA in person?
No,
I thought you had.
no. Where would I have met DA? I don't think we've ever done a conference together.
I figured you had. I didn't know.
Yeah, no, we haven't. Not yet. Not yet. But we will. You know what? If we're not asked to speak at a conference together, we're just going to have to make our own conference. Maybe. I don't
Well,
know.
I
What do you
mean,
think about that? Maybe we should do that.
you ought to come to Ohio in October. That's you would like that conference.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. DA and
Eric
I
said,
both get there.
look at what Eric said. If they eat me, they will get diabetes.
Diabetes.
Oh, my God. Oh, Eric and his fluffy butt. That's funny. Okay.
But
Big
Wayne
farts.
will
Dang
be at
it,
that
Cosmic.
conference.
Goodness.
Me and DA what's the guy
That's
from
that's where you're teaching tracking, right? Is that the
one of them?
conference? Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that'd be fun.
I'm
That's a
going.
long drive for me though. That's a long way.
It's about the same as I think it was. It took me a little bit longer this last October when I went up there because it was right after the hurricane, so I had to get diverted. But it still only took about 9.5 hours, which is not. I mean, considering I drive 12.5 hours to go to Missouri, 9.5 is not
Mhm.
that bad. But
Yeah.
but it was a great conference, especially for it just being a first year conference. It was really good. And
Yeah. Well, I will look into that and see what's going on. I'm speaking at a bunch of conferences and stuff this year, a bunch of events. So, this message right here made me think of something, and I wanted to ask you about it, Robbie. Patriot Starfighter, thank you for being here. Find aerial pics of dam from above at Lake Mead. It has satanic symbols all over it in the middle of it. Okay, Robbie, I haven't talked to you about this yet. I've been doing some research on, I think Eric came on the show with me, Edie Testerman, and we were talking about the human animal hybrid type super soldier program that our military was doing. There's actually this, I don't know if I've sent this to you, but there's it's on Israeli news. There was a video on YouTube where the guy was talking about how the Pentagon had gone in, or the CIA had gone in to get some funding to eliminate assets from this program that was being funded by our government that had been going on for decades. And it had gotten out of control. They needed to eliminate the assets to discontinue this program. It's where they had been injecting people, doing some kind of CRISPR stuff with lion DNA, wolf DNA, and bear DNA. Okay. And they were actually discussing how it was like humans they were trying to turn them into like kind of beasts a little bit, I guess. And they were putting them in pairs, male and female, all over the world, dropping them off. And they were talking about how they were living in caves. There was some connection to caves. And wherever these caves where they were at, they would have a pentagram painted on the outside of that cave. And it was almost like ritualistic kind of stuff. We were talking about werewolves. They even talked about how the Clintons were in on this. Okay, the Clintons. And
wouldn't surprise me.
And that Mrs. Clinton, let's just say, was part of this program even back when they were in Arkansas before he was president. And she was actually the head witch that was teaching them the rituals on how to get these people to turn. This was something that a project our military was working on. I mean, first of all, what do you think about that? Do you think it's even possible? And do you think that, just tell me what you think.
We talked about this one time, and Doc and Steve actually kind of weighed in on what it would take, and I'm not Doc or Steve, either one with their medical knowledge, but what it would take and how the body would be able to
transform.
Yeah, man, bear, pig, Greg, that's it. What it would take for the body to go through that. And Doc said, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it would it would be very taxing on the body. It would take a lot of energy, a lot of stress on the cells. So, but at the end of the day, neither one of them could say they could say without or beyond 100% or beyond a shadow of doubt that it was impossible. So there was and agree with you there, Kent. They are. But if like just to echo off what he just said right there, if there's anybody that I think would be into trying to get that done, I would say it would be probably them. They would probably be looking into anything like that because Doc actually found out, and we haven't been able to find it since. You know, big surprise. You find a story like that, and then all of a sudden it goes dark. Yeah. But we did a whole show on it. Doc actually found an article where somewhere back in the 40s or 50s, I think, supposedly the government released a bunch of genetically altered dogmen into Louisiana to let them breed with the local dogman population to see what came out of it.
Whoa. That's juicy. Okay. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's terrible. Okay. It's terrible. But that's pretty interesting intel right there. I'll tell you what. I mean, it would totally make sense. So, right? Genetically modified dogmen.
Yep.
I mean,
said they wanted to let them, or the article said they wanted to let them breed with, you know, the regular dogmen to see what come up.
Yeah. Well, I wonder what happened. Was there any kind of, conclusion to it?
We couldn't find anything past that. Yeah, I guess it's
ongoing.
As Bobby Boucher would say, the search continues.
It's an ongoing investigation. Okay, genetically modified dogmen. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
they're doing it to humans.
I'm about to say we know.
Why wouldn't they do it to dogmen?
We know that Russia was trying to breed humans and apes together to get a super soldier.
Well, why wouldn't they do like a bear man, the bear man pig,
man bear pig?
Yeah. They put things like that there to be a joke, but really that's what they're doing.
Right? Look, I'm gonna tell you something. I saw something on YouTube the other day.
What did you see?
Do you remember a show back when we were kids? And I know there's some, Greg, you might remember this. It was basically professional wrestling on roller skates. It was called roller derby. Do you remember that show?
I had a lady talking about roller derby today.
But do you remember the show?
I don't remember the show, but we have roller derby in Atlanta.
Well, there was a show. It was called roller derby, and it was the big TV production. It was the WWF because that's what was there at the time. It was wrestling. It was pro wrestling on roller skates. So I run across it on YouTube.
Sounds violent.
Man, I remember that. I want to watch that. And I watched this thing was on in the 80s. I was watching episode number 1, and I'm sitting there, and the announcer was like, "Well, that makes about as much sense. Or next you're going to tell me Donald Trump's going to be president," and I'm like,
"What?"
I'm like, "Wait." I had to rewind back. I said, "Did they just say that?" Because it wasn't like he was saying it as a joke. It was like he was saying it almost like tongue in cheek, and I'm like, I watched it like 3 or 4 times. I mean, he literally was. It was like he was joking, but he wasn't joking. Mm-hmm. And like I said, this thing was back in the 80s.
Oh, it's like they knew something. They knew. It's like the Simpsons predicting all this stuff, right? I don't know. We're living in the Truman Show. If you haven't noticed, Robby.
Oh yeah,
aren't we? I know. That's why we're doing these shows. That's why I do my shows, to bust out the Matrix. I've already kind of busted out, and I'm trying to bring everybody with me. So, yeah, y'all come on, y'all hop on in, buckle up. We're on the bullet train to bust out of the Matrix. Okay, those magnetic bullet trains and these deep underground military bases. We're going to take over. The Cryptid Huntress takeover of the bullet trains. And
Well, and I've said this many times before, movies like that movie Will Smith was in with what's his name from the Transformers? I think it was called maybe Eagle Eye or something like that. But anyway, movies back in the early 90s. And there's a scene in there where this satellite's reading the newspaper over this guy's shoulder. And everybody's like, oh man, that's so far-fetched. But anything you see in the movies that you think is so far-fetched, we're probably 10, 15 years ahead of that already of what we can do.
Way ahead, farther than that.
Like military planes that we see, that we actually see now, that we think are new planes, have probably been in service for 15, 20 years. And we don't even know, because my brother's in the Marine Corps. He was over every Hornet in the Marine Corps at one time. And there's just been stuff, little things that he said that I've been like, And it's just,
they know. Yeah, they know. Mike Jones. Okay. Jessica, would you do a show, if you haven't already, on the hybrids of the Book of Enoch and the drawings of them on the pyramids? Yes, I will look into that. That sounds really cool, actually. Thank you, Mike. I totally will. What's up, Jane? Yeah, there's a lot that is hidden from the general public, Robby. Okay, and sometimes they just put little breadcrumbs out there to put it into the collective consciousness so that we create it ourselves, because we are manifesting our reality on our own. So let's manifest a better reality and disconnect from what the controllers, I guess you could call it, want us to do and want to show us, want to hide from us, and let's create our own thing. Let's put the truth out there. Like I said, that's why we do shows like we do, Robby, to get to the bottom of things and to find the truth and to question. We're never going to find the total truth, I think, with a lot of this stuff, but we can question the narrative, right?
Oh yeah,
we can question it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Somebody's got to do it. I'll do it. And y'all do it. Y'all do it over on your channel too. We question it. And you guys are a bunch of law enforcement officials. So who better to question the narrative than people who are currently and formerly in law enforcement? I love it. It don't get no better than that.
We try.
Yeah, it's amazing. And so, yeah, occasionally I steal you away from that show, from your channel over there, and I bring you over here. And I am so excited that you came over tonight, Robby. We always have fun, don't we?
Yeah, I do. I always enjoy it.
Yeah.
And, hopefully DA got the keys yesterday for the house they're going to have to move into. So hopefully will be moving in the next little bit. So hopefully when he gets over there, he's going to get internet set up and we'll be able to get our show back up and running. Yeah. Hopefully. So y'all say a prayer for DA and Annette and the boys and make sure, hopefully they can get everything going. Yeah.
Well, in the case that you guys are taking a little hiatus a little longer, you're welcome to come back over here anytime. You're always welcome to come over here and hang out with me, because we never have a shortage of anything to talk about.
No,
for sure.
No,
we don't.
Enjoy it.
We don't. Okay, so you're still. You know what, Robby? I was going to say, because I asked you if you're still in the flesh and bone camp. I've always been in the flesh and bone camp, but I'm also woo camp too. So I'm both. Okay, I'm just saying I'm both. I'm both. They're flesh and bone, but they're also supernatural too. But so are us. I mean, I'm a supernatural being. I know I am. I'm multi-dimensional. I think you are too. You're supernatural. You got some abilities.
I don't know about all that.
I haven't seen you turn into a werewolf yet. I'm still waiting.
Well, I mean, I have been too my whole life, and it don't happen. So I don't think it's going to happen. So.
Well, you don't want to. I mean, you don't want to. You don't want to if you don't have to.
No, I wanted to when I was a kid, but
yeah, I know, right? Oh my gosh. Oh man, well, we've got a bunch of people in the
You and me
chat. Let's
both,
see.
Greg. You and me both.
What did he say?
He said
Sometimes I'm
he's got
shocked that was he a police officer too?
Why do you think we all get along so good? Because we're
I
all
did
just
not know
alike.
that.
Me, him, DA, Steve, Doc, we're all just alike.
Oh man, why do you think it is that people that work in law enforcement are so connected to the cryptid world? Why is that? Is it? I know I think we may have talked about the investigative aspect of it all, but is that it, or the calls you all take? Does it get you interested in it? I mean,
Yeah, I can't speak for Greg and for DA. Me personally, number one, it's a quest for. I hate to be this a quest for truth and all that stuff, but it kind of is. You know, I've always, since I was a kid, knew that these things existed because I know what I saw. So it was never about me proving it to anybody. It's like I said, and I guess that's why I don't really care if anybody believes me or not, because nobody's ever believed me my entire life until 6 years ago when I started getting in this community. So I really don't care. So it's not that quest about proving, but I guess for me it was more of, okay, well, if this exists, what else is out there type thing. What else can I find out? What else can I see? What else can I get involved in? What else can I do? It's like, I've had my Bigfoot encounters. I want to have a Dogman encounter. I'm not saying I want to have a supernatural encounter, but I've never had one, so that's on the cards too. Yeah.
well, you're sitting here with me, and I am supernatural. Thanks, Sovereign. That's funny. Supernatural Jessica, you've been hanging out. You've hung out with me before. It's supernatural out there. Those orbs are supernatural. I'm just saying.
And they may be.
Me.
I don't feel any different. I don't feel like I've had any. I feel like I saw something, but I'm not sure what I saw. So it's not like when I had my Bigfoot encounter, the very first one, it was like, it was just world changing. And it kind of felt almost the same way, almost every single other encounter I had that way, but it just didn't feel, it didn't have the same impact on me because I don't know what I saw. I knew what I saw and I knew what I was experiencing every time I had a Bigfoot experience. So maybe that's the difference, because I was like, okay, I'm looking at a Bigfoot. Okay, this is a Bigfoot doing this. I feel like this is, even though I'm pretty sure that those were Dogman, I still didn't get to see anything. So it's still that element of the unknown.
Yeah.
I feel more sure about the LBL being a Dogman than not that I'm not still sure that was a Dogman encounter that we had in Georgia, but I'm just more sure about the LBL it being a Dogman because I did see the eye shine. It was different eye shine, different color, different shape than any eye shine I've seen with Bigfoot. And Greg was there that weekend. There was some other people had some encounters in too, but that's one of the only times I've been scared. And me, I don't get rattled. But
you ain't never scared like that.
But
song.
I was concerned. Let's put it, I was concerned that night.
Yeah.
And maybe it was because my daughter was there and I was in dad mode. Maybe that was a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, she's 21.
Just like me.
Still.
I was in mom mode that night that you and I were out there with and had my son.
Yeah. So maybe that's why I was more concerned. I don't think so. I think I was more concerned because just there was a different vibe and a different feeling than any of the other times. And it was just, I don't know.
I feel you.
Like I said, I can't speak for Greg or DA or, any of the rest of the guys that I know who are police officers that get into this. But it's just, and I obviously I'd say probably some of it is the investigative part of it. Always trying to, I'm sure Greg will agree with this, and Rodney, if he's still in the chat, getting to the bottom of it, solving the mystery, all that kind of stuff. You know, that drives us no matter what we're doing. If you enjoy that, and you know, I was an investigator for probably 6 years, something like that. So that's a driving force. But it's just it's hard to put a finger on what exactly, because it's more than one thing, obviously.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would assume that, you know, I talked a few times about how some of the sheriff's deputies in the place where I used to live, they used to I had someone who worked in the 911 center. I knew most of the girls that worked there. And I didn't ever met any guys that worked there, but there were guys that worked there too. But a lot of the girls that worked there, and I had the inside scoop, okay, when it came to people that would call in those reports of, you know, hitting a dog, and then the dog got up and it ran off on two legs, like with a car, like somebody hit a dog with their car, but it got up and it ran off, and it was confusing, like things like that. Like I got told that kind of stuff. I was the Bigfoot girl. Okay, so yeah, if something weird happened, I'd hear about it. So I couldn't imagine taking a call, you know. And let's get to your book now, because in your book, the main character, who by the way looks just like you, okay, he looks just like Robby Raines. Golly, I don't know what that's about, but it does look just like you. And he actually takes, you know, calls and runs into things, situations, let's just say, that may involve werewolves and the shadow walkers, as we call them, right? And so I think that happens with cops, and that's why I've always thought that maybe there's more people in law enforcement that are in the cryptid world, because of the curiosity behind some of the calls they take.
And you know, that's kind of why I took the approach at it, because obviously I don't work for a sheriff's office. I work for a municipality, but I got a lot of friends who are deputy sheriffs, and a lot of them go out and answer calls out in the middle of nowhere with no backup, to speak of, anywhere close. And that's kind of where a lot of that kind of the idea for the book just morphed into. What happens if you go out to a call like that? It, you know, and Greg will tell you, you go to calls like this, and I've gone to calls like this in some of the cities that I've worked in, some of the rural cities, you know, working nights, and you're the only one working, and the sheriff's office may be your only backup, and you know, they're out in the county somewhere. So it's like, you know, but you got to do your job. You got to deal with this kind of stuff. So what happens? You go to a call like that, and suddenly you're face to face with a 10-foot werewolf that jumps off,
Yeah,
side or top of the house on top of you. What are you gonna do? You don't scenario that, because, you know, I made that comment in the book. You always run the scenarios in your head, and I'm sure Greg will tell you he did the same thing. That's something I do constantly. Okay, if I stop a car and this happens, how am I going to handle it? If I go to a call and this happens, how am I going to handle it? What am I going to do? Somebody, you know, squares up on me. Somebody pulls a gun on me. Somebody pulls a knife. What am I? You constantly run those scenarios in your head, because that's the way we're taught in the academy. You know, you're constantly running these scenarios. You're constantly, because the more you bleed in practice, the less you bleed in battle, or the more you sweat in practice, the less you bleed in battle. However you want to look at it. So you're constantly running these scenarios through, and that way, if something does happen, it's muscle memory. You just act, and you don't have to think about it. But you don't run a scenario in your head. Okay, if I go to this call and a werewolf jumps off the top of the house on me, how am I going to handle it? What am I going to do? That's not something that most normal people are going to think about. So that's kind of where some of the idea came from. Is, okay, what's he going to do? How's he going to handle that? Because that's not a normal situation. That's not something that you.
Well, maybe it needs to be put into the curriculum Okay. And, I just giggled out loud because I was thinking about that video of the two police officers that got called out to I think it was a cemetery. And I don't know if there was a noise complaint or what, but they get out of their car and they start to walk towards the noise. I think it was a graveyard. And you can see them from the dash cam. And as they start to walk towards the cemetery, something just screams really loud and they both just freak out and kind of stumble.
That one of them turns around and says, nope, and turns around and runs.
Nope. That's right. Nope.
I've seen that one.
Nope. I don't blame them at that point. My good friend Bob Grumpy Wilson, who passed away last year, Bob was he was a law enforcement official out in California for a long time. And it, what is it called? Exeter. Gosh, I can't remember the name of that town where they had like UFOs and stuff. That was where he was a cop. I can't remember, but anyways, Exeter, I think is the name of it. Exeter. Yeah, he was there. He took calls like where he would go. He got a call that the lights were on at the football field at the local high school. And he watched a big carousel shaped UFO flying over the town that night. And he said that he got out there in his cop car. I don't think that he wanted to get out of the cop car or something. Like it was bad. They said he pulled up to the high school and the lights over the football field were blinking. And the lights inside the high school were like blinking on and off and stuff. He said it was wild. And there's this like carousel shaped UFO that was spinning over the school. And it was wild. He was like, nope, nope, I don't want to get out. But anyways, that's wild. Bob was a special one, man. He was a special dude. But that's, yeah. I don't know what I would do in that case either. I mean, I don't know. I guess if that's your job. I mean, I've not been trained in police training, so I don't know. You guys are trained to go run towards the danger though, right?
Yeah. And I've said this many times. Greg said it. DA said it. Most all of us said it. To do the job that we do, you got to be wired different. And, if you know any of us other than, we're all wired different. I mean, which is why we all get along with each other, because it's just, you don't do this job, especially as long as some of us have done it, if you can't, because you have to be able to compartmentalize stuff, because you see stuff that most normal people couldn't handle. And yeah, I think me and Greg was talking about this one time. It was the things that we see. Most normal people just could not. And I say normal because we're not normal. You're
definitely not normal, Robbie.
And that's true.
I'm just kidding.
And maybe that's why we're so good in this community, is because of how abnormal we are. Like Marty Feldman said, Abby normal.
Abby normal. Oh my gosh.
The brain he got from for Young Frankenstein.
Oh, yeah. I'm just glad that there are law enforcement officials out there that have open minds like you guys have. You think outside the box, kind of because you got to, I guess.
Yeah.
You don't have to, but you do. And so I commend you for that. Y'all are out there chasing Dogman. Do the people at your job know that you go out and chase Bigfoot and Dogman? They do? I kept it secret from my job for a long time. I just told them I was going camping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My chief's cool about it. Most everybody's cool about it. I've got a few goofballs that love to try to give me a hard time about it, but it's what it is. But everybody at the school that I work at is cool about it. They love it. I mean, I've had probably 12 or 13 of them buy my book, and they're like, "We're having a signing party." So, they're which one of my Wolfpack readers is he works at the school with me, and he helped me out because when I was getting ready to that final push to publish, it was right when DA was having all his electrical problems in his house. So he was like, "Dude, I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to help you." And Ryan was like, I got you. Don't worry about it. Because he's actually published some books too. So he helped me right there at the critical part where I was like, I don't know how I'm going to get this thing done because DA can't do the stuff he was going to do to help me, which he was able to get his laptop going enough to do a few of the things, but it was good to have that extra person there that knew what was going on to kind of help me out. Because actually, the cover of the book, and Sonia will tell you that was not my original idea for the cover. My original idea was something totally different, but Ryan came.
I like it though.
Yeah, he came. He was like, he said because my original idea was having a werewolf standing up on the top of looking out or jumping off rock, and having that iconic thing from the horse pasture, but nobody would have known where unless you were from here. And he said that scene right there where he's getting ready to go in the house. Now, of course, obviously the werewolf wasn't in the house, but that's he said that sets the tone and that sets the stage for the whole book. So Adam nailed it. I think he did a really good job.
It's great. And it looks just like you. Okay. So I love it.
I just told
that's gotta be you. I love it.
He's never seen me before.
No,
that's
serious?
That's the same guy that does DA's book covers.
It's amazing.
I've never seen him before. I just told him, told him the color of the uniform, told him bald head with a salt and pepper beard.
He got it. He nailed it.
And that's all him.
Yeah. And for UPD, I did an entire show on the Falkville Middleman. And I did a remote viewing target of that a while back. It wasn't that long ago, actually. So if you want to go back and watch that show that I did on this, and that's where a police officer that kind of I don't want to say it ruined his life, but he took a call one night. He was the police chief out in Falkville, Alabama. He took this call, Robbie. I don't think you came on the show with me for that one. I can't remember. But he went out to this call, and he ran into like a man wearing a metal suit, like aluminum foil or something. It was wild. And it looked like a man. He thought it was a man until he walked up to it and was like, "Howdy ho, neighbor," or something. I forgot what he said to him. He's like, "What's up, dude?" And the thing, he said he realized at that moment, he's like, it wasn't human. And he got in his truck. He literally said he tried to run it over with his truck. And he drove it down, and he ended up, it was running so fast, he couldn't catch up with it, with the terrain that he was driving on. And he crashed his truck, Robbie. He said it pretty much ruined his life from that point forward. So in for UPD, I've covered it, and it's a fantastic show. Okay. And it's a fantastic target to do. And I don't know. I got to say, I think it could have been a fireman wearing a fire suit, personally. That's what I think. The data was almost inconclusive. I don't think it was an actual alien. Okay. But nonetheless, it's a good story.
Sounds like it. Let's go back and watch.
It was. You're gonna you got to look into it, actually. Yeah, and Greg was actually in the chat saying that that he knows, some of his fellow police officers, law enforcement officials, they've had Bigfoot sightings, but they won't admit to it.
Yeah, well, a lot of us worry about going in court and some stinking defense attorney pulling that up and stuff. But
that's a good point.
I'm on the shady side at the end of my career, so I'm not.
You're on the back end.
Yeah, I'm on the down slope, and I'm in the school now, so it's not like I don't have to go to court a whole lot anymore. So
you're basically, what you're saying is, if you come out and say that you believe in Bigfoot and you got Bigfoot sightings and you saw a Bigfoot on a call, that they're going to the DA or somebody, or not DA, but
not the DA.
Not the DA, the defense attorneys are going to burn you at the stake, basically, is what they're going to do, because you're going to be a Looney Tune.
Yeah, it's a distinct possibility that they could do.
Yeah.
But you think about it, back in, 15, 20 years ago, and DA said this many times, most all people that come forward and said they saw Bigfoot was, Billy Bob in his his bib overalls, one strap unclipped and hung over his shoulder, and
Oh my gosh.
yeah, I done seen it. But
I seen
now
it.
you get
I told him, get out of here. That's Tim Peeler, actually. I know.
Go around him.
Old Tim up in North Carolina.
But now you
yeah.
get doctors,
Yeah.
you get lawyers, you get police, and this drives me up the wall. We can take a witness statement from somebody, and that's good enough to put somebody in jail. But it ain't good enough to say we saw Bigfoot.
Yeah.
That's good enough to take somebody's freedom, but it's not good enough for anybody to believe that Bigfoot's real.
Oh,
and
man.
Think about it this way. I said this the other night, or not the other night. I said it a couple months ago. Think about if Bigfoot is fake. If this is a hoax. I don't think a lot of people think about it in these terms. But if this is fake and if it is a hoax, how big and how many people, how big of a corporation and how many people would it take to keep a hoax like that going for as long as it's been going? Would that not be the biggest company in the world? Because it would have to be a worldwide company. It would have to employ millions and millions of people that were sworn to secrecy, that never said a word ever.
It would be a lot of work. But look how much the wool has been pulled over our eyes for decades, centuries even.
But that's what I'm saying. It would. Yeah. It's a lot harder to believe that it's a hoax than it is to believe it's real. Because if you start thinking in the terms of, okay, if this is a hoax, how are they keeping this going? That would be a multi-billion-dollar company just to keep the hoax alive. Number one. And number two, why? Why would you perpetuate this hoax if you knew it was a hoax and you're... It makes no sense. It doesn't. It takes more faith to believe that it's a hoax than it does to believe it's real. If you really start breaking it down and looking at it in terms of what it would take, because that you would have to have, how many people would you have to have out just putting tracks in random places, hoping that somebody would find them?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Well, I mean, I know it's not a hoax.
I know, but I'm just saying.
I know it's not, but the general public may not know.
Yeah, and I think if the general public would think about it in terms like that, of okay, well, yeah, that it is kind of that's kind of stupid to think that way. I think a lot more of them might start coming around.
Yeah, maybe so. Hey, Lanita, I see Lanita Bryant here. Thank you for being here tonight. Yes, Eric says they have been around way before White came here, not counting around this world. Okay, yes. And Greg says we had a man that was a multi-county drug task force come clean to me about a Bigfoot sighting he had as a deputy sheriff. This man was very well respected. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember Greg telling me that story one time.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, okay, listen. You would think the cryptid huntress, her dad would be cool with Bigfoot. Be like, oh, I believe, since you're doing this, Bigfoot's got to be real. My dad still doesn't believe in Bigfoot, Robby. Okay, so it is what it is. I'm not trying to convince him. I just hope that I think that he may have even seen one at some point, but he just doesn't want to believe that it's real. Okay, and that's okay. He can live in his fantasy world. That's fine. Fine, Dad. Okay, keep on living in your fantasy. He thinks I'm living in fantasy. That's the funny thing. Isn't that weird how the perception is? With us, it's like, well, we think that they're living in a fantasy world for not, and I'm not saying that everybody that doesn't believe in Bigfoot is living in a fantasy world, but it's like my reality is my reality. My dad's reality is his reality. It's all good. It's all good. Yeah. It is what it is, y'all. And my dad obviously doesn't watch my shows either. He doesn't get internet at his house. He lives out in the middle of nowhere. So, but anyways, nonetheless, Robby, thank you so much for being here tonight. This has been fantastic. I know it's getting late for everybody, especially here on the East Coast. And so we won't keep y'all here all night. Okay, we won't. And I've had a long, long day today. But it has been well worth it getting to hang out with you tonight, Robby. I'd stay on here forever and talk to you, but I know we have to end it at some point. So
Yeah,
just please, at some point. Let's talk about your book before we go tonight. And I know we've talked about it a little bit, but like, where can people find it? And just talk about whatever you want to talk about with your book.
The book is available on Amazon. You can get it in, I think there's 3 ways you can get it. You can get the paperback, you can get the ebook, or you can do I think it's called Kindle Unlimited, where you actually rent it and you can read it and then return it once. Yeah, you keep so many books at a time, and it's kind of like a library, but you can keep them as long as you want to, and you just get to a certain point, and you got to turn a book back in. But like I said, just Amazon search. You can search my name. Make sure you spell it Robby. I know a lot of people spell my name Robbie, and that might not show up if you spell it that way. Or you can do Shadow Walkers. It's actually, I think number 24 in one category. I was on day 1 when it debuted. I was in the top 50 in 4 of the categories, 4 of the 7 categories it was in. So it's done pretty good, and I was kind of proud of this almost more so than some of the others. It was number 845 in police procedurals. So to me, that said that I
police procedurals.
Yeah, that was one of the categories I put it in.
That's a category.
There's tons of different categories, and that's something that was kind of. There's a lot more to it. Writing is the easy part. DA had always told me that, but I didn't really kind of. My name of it is Shadow Walkers and the first book is Silver Star. Shadow Walkers is the series title, and Silver Star is the first book. The second book hopefully will be out in the next few weeks, maybe. I'm on chapter 7 now. I'm like 15,000 words into it, so it's getting there.
Wow, that is. I mean, Robby, you're going to be cranking these books out at this rate. You're going to be cranking them out big time.
My goal is to have 3 books out before the school year ends. So I've got it. I don't know that I'll get it before the school year ends. I definitely will have 2 out before the school year ends. It's just a lot easier to work on them when I'm in the school because I've got, I got to do my things in the morning, and then I've got some time that I can kind of just sit there and work on some stuff before I have to go to other things to do. But like I said, hopefully I'll get this one out maybe in the next 3 weeks. It just depends. I'm on matter of fact, I probably will email Adam tomorrow and go ahead and give you an idea so you can start working on the book cover for the second book. Second book's gonna go. Greg will tell you it's gonna go in a different. I mean, it's still gonna have the same crew and everything in it, but it's going in a vastly different direction than this book went. There's gonna be some. Put it this way: any of y'all that are fans of DA's books, you might want to definitely read this one because there's going to be some. DA and I have done some brainstorming on this one. I called him last night and read something to him, and he was like, "I like it." So,
he likes it. Not to give anything away. You're just giving little breadcrumbs tonight, but it's going to be good. It's going to be real good.
Yes, Greg's one of my Wolfpack readers. He hadn't read this part yet. He's going to freak out when he reads this part.
Oh my gosh, Robby, thank you so much for letting me read your book early too. And I'm about halfway through it. I love it, by the way. I think it's great. I was super impressed from the first few pages. I was like, dang, Robby Raines. It's really good. So you guys please go out and purchase one of Robby's books. I think this is amazing. I do have a link in the description box of the show here on YouTube and on Facebook. If you guys are watching on the Facebook stream tonight, you can go purchase your book. Hit that description box, okay? And you can find it on Amazon. It's amazing, Robby. I'm super excited for you. Yeah, it's really good. Very talented, man.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, I've had it in Greg's. I threw him for a loop. Oh, you just wait, Greg. You wait till you read this one.
He threw me for a loop. You weren't. What? How did he do that? You weren't expecting Robby to write a book? I wasn't expecting you to write it. I didn't know you were going to write a book, Robby.
I don't think anybody did.
Yeah.
I don't think, because like I said, DA had been on me for even Cam. Cam was on our show like 3 times. First time he was on the show, I mean, he'd been on with DA before that, but I'm with me. He asked me when we was backstage. He said, "Well, Robby, you got anything? You wrote anything? You know, because Cam's an author too." And I was, "Yeah, well, yeah, I got a few ideas." He said, "Well, write them. Hold on to that thought. Just hold on to that marveling thought that you might not be too far off. You may be. Who knows? You just have to wait and see."
Who knows? My lips are sealed. Kent Baxter, this is a party, man. This is a party every Saturday night. In my later age, this is my idea of a big party on a Saturday night. Mine too, Kent. This is about as wild and crazy as I get on a Saturday night. Well, actually, I don't know. I go out in the woods too. That's kind of fun. I like sitting there being all stinky, hoping a Bigfoot will step on me and stuff too. I like to go hide in the woods. That's actually kind of fun. But yeah, I'd prefer to be here with you guys, honestly, because I'm having too much fun and I have air conditioning out here. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. I'm right here sitting in a comfortable chair, not having to worry about Bigfoot sniffing me and stuff. Okay. So, oh my gosh. Thank you guys for everybody for being here tonight. This has been fantastic. Like I said, please go, purchase Shadow Walkers Silver Star by Robby Raines on Amazon. And Robby, also tell the audience about DAX Machina podcast and what you guys got going on. I know y'all are in a little hiatus right now.
Yeah, we're in a holding pattern right now until DA gets straightened out. But when the show's up and running, you can catch us every Wednesday and Saturday night for DAX Machina live, and you can catch us on Sunday nights for Campfire Stories, aka the RRA, or the Redneck Reading Association, when we read DA's books, and we'll probably throw mine in there now too. So yeah, hopefully in the next week or so, because DA's he just got the keys yesterday to the other house. He's got to move. The landlord has rented a, what do you call them, pods? I think the big personal storage
pods.
Yeah, yes. He rented one of those, and he's gonna put that in the front yard so they can everything that they can't take to the other house with them, they're gonna have to store it at that house, because their whole entire house is gonna have to be rewired, which means
that
walls.
Is just, God, that's a pain in the butt.
Yeah, these walls are gonna have to be pulled out. Ugh. Yeah, it's gonna because the house was built back in the 50s, so there's nothing that passes code right now. So
it's better to take care of it now than something happen that's tragic.
They're lucky, but this has been going on for over a year. He's been trying to get the landlord to take care of it. Anyway, later, Greg. See you, house. But so they're gonna have to move out of there, get a U-Haul, load everything up, drive across town, move into this other house for however long it takes for them to get their house to get redone, and then move back into that house. So the big thing we don't know is if they're going to be able to get their internet service and everything switched over for a little bit, because whoever the internet company is could say, "Nah, we ain't moving it."
I know, gosh. So, like I said, that's a big old pain in the butt. It's a big old pain in the butt. But like I said, at least nothing, you're taking care of it now. So no tragedies happen. I live in an old house myself.
Yeah.
Okay. And we had to be real careful about the wiring and stuff.
And
It's fine, but still, I
if
understand.
anybody wants to help, this is not DA asking, this is me. If you get on his page, he's got a Patreon. If you want to help him out,
Good
I'm
idea.
sure he would. That, like I said, it's not him asking. This is me saying if anybody wants to, they could use it because they're having to pay for the U-Haul. They're having to pay for just about everything else. The only thing that the landlord's paying for is that pod, and obviously he's paying to have the house redone, but that he's got to. That's part of it. But he's not helping DA and them too much on that. So if anybody wants to go help him, go to his Patreon on the YouTube channel. There's a link to it, and you can help out that way. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, y'all, please go do that. DA is a good friend of the show, and DA's always been very supportive of me and my channel, and we just love him to death. And so, yeah, and like I said, I stole Robby away for the evening, and so yeah. Please, y'all, go become a member of their Patreon and be sure to tune in to DAX Machina when they're back up and running. It's every, what is it? Wednesday, Saturday, and
Saturdays
Sunday.
and Sundays. Wednesday and Saturdays are DAX Machina. Those are the live shows, and Sundays are me and DA reading his book. A lot of times it's just me and DA. Sometimes Doc's there. Yeah, just Doc and Steve, their schedules are a little bit different than mine and DA's. I work Monday through Friday, so and DA he works his book schedule. But Doc and Steve still have regular jobs that they have to work, and so their time is a little bit more chaotic than ours is. But you'll get Doc on there sometimes. You get Steve. A lot of times we'll get Steve on Saturday night. But yeah,
it's always a good time.
Yeah, and we got plenty of back episodes. If you've never watched one of them, if you want to go catch a couple back episodes while you're waiting for us to come back up live.
Oh yeah. Oh, is it daylight savings time tonight?
We're spring forward tonight.
Oh no. Do we lose an hour? We lose an hour tonight.
Yep, springing forward.
Oh, that's always my least favorite. But hey, at least it'll start getting lighter in the mornings, right? I think like earlier. Earlier is what I meant. Yeah. Okay, well that's good for us parents to have kids in school. It actually helps. I did not even know that, but you know what? The good thing about our cell phones and stuff is like they automatically change. So, but my wristwatch will not. Okay. So thank you, Kent. I had no clue. I've had a very busy day today. I've had a busy week. I've had a busy life. And so I depend on my chat room to help me keep abreast. God, that's a word I've never used. Abreast of all the important information. Oh man, you can tell I'm getting tired. I'm getting real tired. But Robby, thank you so much for being here tonight. Again, it's always fun having you here. And y'all, please go support Robby. Go purchase his books. Let's get him to #1 in that werewolf and shapeshifter Amazon category there. I think that's a good goal to set, Robby.
Yeah.
Let's get you up there to #1. At least in the top 3. At least the top 3.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Well, like I said, I'm still new to it, but DA said that will, because he's had a couple go to #1. He said that really helps out your sales. And then, of course, if you buy it and you like it, please give it a review. That helps out a lot too. And I appreciate that, Eric, but we're not really doing. I don't have time to. #1, #2, we lost that room that we were using it in, so we haven't done a show or we haven't recorded What's Really Out There in a long time. I appreciate it. If you want to support me, to go buy the book, because that's what I'm doing. I can't even remember the last time we recorded a show. Cause like I said, we lost the room, and we just doing 3 shows with DA and writing the book and doing the knives and working and everything else I got to do. I don't have time for. And Tyler's got a new job, so it's hard for him to get over there. It's just it was getting to be a hard thing to throw that in with everything else too. So,
Eric, I did ask him before the show. I was like, "Are y'all still doing that podcast?" Because I had it all on the ticker and everything, And so I was very aware of that show. That was a good podcast, man. But I know it's when you can put all your energy into one thing or two. I know you put your energy into a lot of stuff, right? But really focus it on let's just say like one podcast or whatever. It really helps. It's your energy is not so divided, so you can put more into what you're doing. Like do one thing really good. And that's what y'all have been doing. Y'all are doing a great job over at DA Ex Machina. So keep on keeping on. I need to get DA back on my show soon too, whenever he's up and running. But we'll get him back on over here too. So yeah, do you have any final thoughts tonight, Robby? What you think about the Shadow Walkers and Dogman and Werewolf encounters, and whatever you got going on?
Just keep getting out there in the woods, keep looking, keep having fun, being safe. Make sure somebody knows where you're going, knows where you're supposed to be back. Check us out on DA Ex Machina Wednesdays and Saturdays and Sundays when we're back, obviously. If you like DA's book, go take a check mine out, see if you like it too, and keep coming and seeing Jessica.
And go to Lone Wolf Forge and Customs, y'all. Is it custom or customs? I may have left the S off.
The Instagram page just still says Lone Wolf, Lone.Wolf Customs, but I've started making knives too, so it's kind of changed to Lone Wolf Forge. I don't know if you can see that one up above me, right there beside Doc's, right beside the Dark Angel Medical. It says Lone Wolf Forge and Customs.
Awesome.
Because I still do the laser stuff. Like that's the one I made right before the book came out.
Oh, I like it. Looks like a Dogman.
Yep.
That's awesome. You're very creative, Robby. I can appreciate it.
That's one for DA's podcast.
Very nice. Very nice.
And I think that one turned out better than any of them.
The Taiga. I like it.
So, it was
very nice.
Still got all the laser engraving stuff. Most all this stuff behind me is all the laser engraving stuff. Hand making knives. On the books, working, doing the podcast. So you see why I didn't have time to keep.
You're busy.
Why I didn't have time to keep my podcast going, because there's just so much other stuff I got going on.
Yeah. Well, you just got a lot of creativity inside you there. And so that's awesome. And I am a proud owner of a beautiful mirror. This is the Cryptid Huntress. It's got my logo and the Dogman on it. And compliments of Robby Raines. So thank you, Robby. I cherish it. It's over on my desk over here too. So yeah, thank you. Yeah, y'all go check him out. Give him a follow over on Instagram. And yeah, Robby, please come back and see me and hang out with me again. Please do.
Anytime.
Okay, I know you always do whenever you can. And congratulations on your new book.
Thank you. Like I said, I never thought it ever happened, because I've had this story in my head or a version of it at some point or another for a long time. And then, like I said, it just came to me that night. I'm like, and it hadn't stopped. And DA said that's usually the way it happens. So,
yeah. Well, keep cranking them out. While you've got the creativity and you're flowing with the information, write it out, get it down, jot it down, get those books out, start cranking the books out. And yeah, like I said, I'm super proud of you. Proud of you.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna once we're done here, I'm probably gonna open it back up and write some more. I'm gonna try to finish the chapter that I'm on right now. I'm gonna try to finish it out tonight so I can get it out to my Wolfpack readers. Let them look at it. I'm sure that'll make Greg happy.
Well, when you get to your second book, you got to come back for sure too. Okay, we'll promote your second book too.
Sure will.
Awesome. Well, okay. Well, you guys, thank you all so much for being here tonight. Everybody that stuck with us for we've gone almost 3 hours tonight. Okay, it's over 2.5 hours. You guys are troopers. I appreciate it so much. And I want to thank Larry Sharp for the doing the 10 Cryptid Hunters memberships tonight. That was huge. And the super sticker. And Zoe Stark, thank you so much for becoming a member. Kent Baxter, thank you so much for the super sticker. And Firewater by Design, thank you so much for the super sticker. All those donations really help, and I really appreciate each and every one of you guys so much. Y'all, please come back and see me on Monday. I will be here live Monday afternoon at 1 p.m. Eastern with another great show for you guys. And I'm going to go get some rest tonight. And please, you guys, please keep Jeff Townson's family in your prayers again. And I do, the show is dedicated to Jeff, my good friend Jeff, my OG henchman is what he called himself to. And I love him so much. He did pass away this week. And he and I want to say we go way back. He's a good friend of mine. And if you guys want to, if I know a lot of y'all were friends, very good friends with Jeff. And this is like we were saying, like, actually, Robby was saying earlier, is like, DA's not asking for donations, whatever, but Robby's saying, please, go become a member of his Patreon. Nobody has asked, said to, send donations anywhere in honor of Jeff. But I'm saying, please, if you guys want to support someone who has been one of his very best friends and his family and who he loves dearly, please go over to Standing Goats Rescue and give a donation in Jeff's honor over to Donnie Miller down in Florida. That's a wonderful organization down there. And that's me asking. Okay. That's me asking y'all to do that if you can. And there's a place actually down there they call Jeff's Corner. And it's a place where Jeff had a really interesting experience down there with some cryptids. So Standing Goats Rescue, care of Donnie Miller. Okay. And yeah, you guys, everybody have a wonderful night. You guys, please be safe out there. Don't be living in fear. Okay. Don't live in fear. And also, Rick, heck, thank you so much for becoming a member of the Hunt Club. I hope you guys enjoy all the exclusive content over there. And you guys can become a member of the Hunt Club as well if you hit that join button. Okay. And yes, rest in peace to our good friend Jeff Townson. You guys will remember him from the Dogman in the Crosshairs episode that we did over here on the channel. And he was always in our chat, and he's just a sweet friend. Okay, a very sweet friend. And I love you guys. Robby, thank you again for being here. I will see you guys back here on Monday. Keep your head on a swivel, y'all. But don't live in fear. Be safe out there. Bye, Robby.
See you.